and you're listening to Radio DMG.
And welcome back to Radio DMG. I am your host, the Dr. Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, the mouth of the Midwest, with a doctorate in reality and a master's in context. You know what? This is episode 60 of Radio DMG. And I really didn't have anything I wanted to do special. I've been so busy with area DMG stuff that Radio DMG has suffered just a bit from that. In fact, I was looking at my files here and I realized that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 unpublished interviews for Radio DMG. 4 of which were published on Area DMG, which is Radio DMG Versus, Radio DMG Viral Speak, or Radio DMG Versus, or Radio DMG Very Small Episode, or I don't know, whatever you want to call that, I had all this audio stuff that I used for that I haven't used for actual Radio DMG. So this episode of Radio DMG is going to be a catch-up episode, I guess. I mean, it's episode 60. We've got 60 of these done. Ladies and gentlemen, 60 of these. We've done viral drinks. We've done musical rations. We've done Radio DMG. We've done Radio DMG Pocket. The whatever. You know what? We have done 60 of these. With the release of this is number 60. And to commemorate that, I guess this is going to be where I catch up on that. So we've got previously published content by... Well, it was on Area DMG, so Radio DMG Versus content. Okay, let me read through this real quick. Oh, goodness. Oh, boy. If the audio sounds a little weirder than usual, it's because I'm using the microphone that I normally use for gaming paraphilia to record this today, because I still need to finish setting up my desktop area here with the actual boom mic, with the actual shotgun mic, with everything that we normally would have to do this, instead of this Blue Yeti USB microphone thingy with its Cartoid whatever and junk. Actually, this is a pretty decent microphone. I've been plenty pleased with this, and I bought it specifically so that when we're capturing footage with the Elgato, I could have something to record off of that wouldn't sound garbagey and didn't require a huge amount of setup. So yeah, this thing, to be perfectly honest, I like it. It works pretty well. I will have to add a pop filter to this at some point because yeah, but pretty good stuff. So good. Yeah. Anywho, let's get down to... Wait, is that good? I should clap after every word. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, our audio, if that sounds... some people go back and they're like, I removed the little bits of pops or whatnot, and I did that for a little bit, but... that is terrible. And they don't do that on the radio. Instead, we have a little button on the radio, like you can cut something. You have a little delay in case somebody curses over your phone line or a guest says something. But we don't do that over here at Radio DMG. In fact, here's what we got on the lineup today. We have 4 previously published interviews. That would be Lauren Landa from 20K15. That's what it says, 2015. Oh, God, that's so bad, right? 2 years old content. Lauren Landa, Marisha Ray, Kieran Strange, and Alexis Tipton. And then we have the unpublished stuff that we hadn't put out yet. Robbie Damon, Chris Patton, Richard Epcar, and Sonny Strait. So we have 8 interviews for you today. What we're going to do is play a little bit of music, the interview, a little bit more music, interview, more music, interview, music, interview, music, interview, music, interview. So kind of old school to get this done. And you're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome. But I know. Anyways, that's just the way it is, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get through all 8 of these interviews, and they're going to be awesome. You may have heard 4 of them, but I know and guarantee you haven't heard the other 4. So, half new content, half old. Seems like a fair way to spend episode 60, and we'll figure out some stuff for episode 61 and beyond. But until that time, ladies and gentlemen, cue the music!
And I'm over here at Colorado Anime Fest 2016 with...
Chris Patton is my name at this point, yes.
Yes, that's his name at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And just in case people might not remember who he is and what he does, I'm going to ask him again, who are you and what do you do?
I am the son of a poor sharecropper.
Oh.
But not really. I'm a voice actor, and I've voice acted for a lot of different anime titles. Anyway, so I've been doing voiceover for 17 years. and I've voice acted for ADV, who have now been reborn as Sentai Filmworks, and there's an alien being strangled in the background. It makes a really interesting gurgling sound. I'm kidding, being silly. And so I voiced for Funimation, Sentai, Okratron, do art in New York. And I've been in somewhere around the neighborhood of 235 anime. And I narrate buttloads of audiobooks, and I've done, commercials and corporate narrate, all that stuff that voiceover people do. But primarily I do audiobooks and anime.
So Harlequin books and hentai, right?
That's right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes. I actually have narrated a few erotica titles in the audiobook world. It's a little awkward, but you gotta give the people what they want.
Absolutely, right? Because those books are all about giving people things.
Yes. Many different kinds of things in some cases. Yes. Uh-huh.
So, you were talking about being the son of a what again?
A poor sharecropper. So there's an
yes.
old Steve Martin movie called The Jerk.
Mm-hmm.
It's like from 1980 or 81, and that's how he begins the story. He's like, I was born the son of a poor sharecropper, and it makes no sense whatsoever. That's why I just say it sometimes. And yeah.
It's like, the worst thing is I've seen that movie.
Yeah.
I just like, whoop. Yeah, we're all like a little bit tired here at Colorado Anime.
Yeah, we are on
busy.
We're on the third day. It's Sunday, and everyone is, a little tired.
Yeah, didn't you have like some kind of run-in with our local edible crop?
I had my first experience with edibles last night. I had half of a gummy edible, and I found out later that I should have just made that a fourth, because I, for lack of any better verbiage, got incredibly stoned. And it was mostly a good experience, but for a while it was a little touch and go-y with the feels of what is referred to, I believe, as uncomfortably high. I was in that situation for a little bit, but mainly I enjoyed myself. I just know from now on, when I'm in places where it is legal and there are edibles, I will only do a quarter of an edible, not a half of an edible. But yes, I did have a run-in, as you said.
And was that like during your panel or before?
No, it was right after my Chris Patton Shares Too Much panel. And I split one with the illustrious and lovely Kieran Knightley.
Kieran Knightley. Yeah,
Kieran Strange. Who I've become a big fan of over the weekend. And she held hers way better than I held mine, but she apparently is a little more experienced with the product than I am, and so I will use that as my excuse. But I certainly feel, I don't feel as run down today as I do typically on a Sunday at most cons, because I haven't really been run ragged, and I've also been a lot smarter this year. Anyone who saw me at NDK 2014 might remember how very, very altitude sick all of us were that year for whatever reason. I've been a lot more careful this year with just consuming ridiculous amounts of water, and not as much caffeine as I usually consume. And over the course of the weekend, I've only had 3 alcoholic beverages, so I've gone a lot easier on myself, and I feel pretty good.
And speaking about going easy, what do you think about the convention so far? This is the first year of Colorado Anime
It's
Fest.
really cool. I going to first year cons is always so touch and go. Like, you never know what's going to happen. I've been to first year cons where there were 53 people, and I've been to some that were more like this, where I have no idea what the final numbers were, but I heard that that they got close to 2,000 yesterday, which is kind of amazing for a first year show. But even given that, 2,000 people is still the kind of con where there's an intimacy, and you can take the time to sort of talk to people and meander and wander around the halls. And I mean, there is still the thing of like on Friday, I was just sort of eating lunch in the atrium restaurant, kind of with 2 people that I knew. By the time I was done eating, there was a little bit of a horde surrounding the table of people asking me basically panel questions, and I was like, oh, you need to duck out of this because I'm just trying to eat my food.
They're like, hi, I have questions, I want to touch your hair.
Yeah, essentially. And that's cool, because you can kind of do that and get away with a little bit of that at a smaller con, but then you still have to create a boundary for yourself and be like, okay, I've done this for a while, and now I'm going to move on to my room to nap or to have a quarter of an edible or whatever, But it's cool. I like the fact that it is not an overwhelming con, especially since I haven't been to one in 14 months. So it's a good way to sort of get reintroduced into the life.
So you took a little bit of a break from the conventions. Was there any particular reason why you did that?
Yeah, I mean, so at the last time I was at a convention, I was still living in Maryland, and I was not enjoying life in Maryland. I was having kind of a rough go of things. My relationship with my ex was falling apart, and I didn't like living in Maryland. The relationship was dying, and so all of that combined just sort of put me in a weird place. And I was like, I need to just step away from conventions, at least for a while, and
To
decompress, fix things. So we broke up. I moved back to Houston. I've been back in Houston now almost a year. We've been broken up almost a year, and I have a new life, and I have like a new life in Houston, and I've been working on tons of anime and tons of audiobooks, and I'm working on all these side projects as well, and so now I kind of felt like, yeah, it's time to go back to conventions, So I'm happy I made that choice.
It's always a good time to, sometimes if stuff just gets too hectic, just step back a little bit and okay.
Yeah, reassess, fix things, get back on the right track. Yeah.
So, about these side projects, anything of note you'd like to talk about?
Not yet.
Not yet?
I'm writing a screenplay is what I really mean. I'm writing a screenplay, and I'm also working, my band that I used to be in, we're reworking some of our old tracks. We're playing with them and remixing them, and we've also recorded some new stuff that we want to play with putting out. But that's not really such a concrete thing right now. I'm about to I've reacquainted myself with an old friend of mine from my high school days who's a world-renowned documentary filmmaker, and he's working on his first feature film. He's actually been he's kind of famous amongst film nerds. His name's Jonathan Coet, and he had a film called Tarnation several years ago that was huge at all the festivals, and the Weinsteins bought it, and he has another film called Walk Away Renee. You can see that on Netflix, and it's another documentary. He makes these really honest, sort of jarring, artsy documentaries, and I told him about this movie that's been germinating in my head for about the past 12 years, and he's like, you need to write that screenplay. He said, that's actually a movie I've been wanting to make, and maybe we can work on it together. So I don't know, I finally have sat down and started banging out at least the beginnings of the screenplay, and so I can't really, I don't feel comfortable yet, really sort of talking about it in depth, but it is something that I'm working on and I'm excited about. But, apart from that, it's tons of voice work, which is good.
Is there any way you can give us a hint about what genre it is?
The movie? Yeah. Oh, it's going to be a really kind of sort of experimental, because I'm going to want the people in it to have really strong improvisational skills. But basically, it's going to be about growing up as a weird kid in the 80s. I've seen all these films that portray the 80s, and they always show the normal side of life back then. There was a whole cluster of us in the 80s who were the weird, new wave, goth, industrial kids. And I've never seen anyone tackle that in film. I
think Greg Araki kind of tries doing that, but, Greg Araki, Doom Generation, stuff like that.
I don't know. I hate to say that I don't know what that is. But
I think he did I think he did Short Bus, a couple other things.
Short Bus is John Cameron Mitchell.
John
Cameron Mitchell. But if John Cameron Mitchell is associated with him, then I know the kind of films you're talking.
Yeah.
I mean,
those Doom Generation.
But okay, Jonathan Coet is friends with all them.
Oh, yeah.
My friend that I'm talking about, he's friends with John Cameron Mitchell and that whole lot. So. But I specifically, my legs are so itchy from it's the dry skin. But I specifically want to make a movie about growing up as a weird kid in suburban Houston. And what it was like to be in we had a really interesting underground club scene then. And it was a time, whenever people think about the 80s, they think about Cyndi Lauper and Bruce Springsteen and Ronald Reagan. They don't think about Joy Division and New Order and Depeche Mode and going clubbing and what it was to have before ecstasy was illegal and to be a 15-year-old getting into these crazy new wave discotheques and it was just, it's an alternative scene that isn't much discussed.
Joy Division is fantastic.
Joy Division, yeah. In fact, last time I saw New Order, I saw New Order when I was in Maryland, and they finished with 3 Joy Division songs. It was a great show. It was fantastic. Did you say you like Goldfrapp?
Oh, yeah, I like Goldfrapp. And,
I saw a very interesting... Oh, Imogen Heap.
Yeah.
Man, I like that she's really taken the changing music business model and made it work for her. I've heard her sort of talk about that. And she and Amanda Palmer both are very savvy musicians and business people whose work I really appreciate.
If there's little pauses, we're taking our time to drink our coffee down and all that.
Yeah, caffeine.
Yeah, it's
important.
early in the morning.
It is. Well, it's not, but it certainly feels that way.
Oh, definitely.
In Houston right now, it's actually 12:20. But anyway,
it's like time to wake up.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's where I am.
So, any particular audiobooks you're working on currently that you'd like to talk about?
Man, I'm working on 3 concurrently. I'm working on a Disney title called Momotaro.
Is that like about the Peach type character?
I mean, it's based in that mythos. I'm not sure yet what the full. I'll be honest with you. I haven't read it fully yet. I'm right in the stages of prepping it for recording. And I'm narrating the newest Julie Kagawa book. She writes like young adult dragon fiction. I'm doing that, and then I'm doing this book by a man named Sean Chesser. He's a very independent author, and he's writing this. It's an 11-book series of sort of his vision of the zombie apocalypse, and right now I'm narrating the 5th book in that series. And I was just nominated for an Audie Award in nonfiction, which is like they're sort of like the Oscars of audiobooks for people who don't know. And I was nominated in nonfiction for this really cool book called The Dorito Effect, which is a book about how junk food in America has changed our brain chemistry and like how we receive taste, and why the author is actually able to scientifically trace America's obesity problem back to the creation of the Dorito, which is really interesting.
Oh no, I like Doritos.
Exactly, and I do too. But and he says that's part of the problem. Is like we all love Doritos because they're not real food, obviously, and they're very scientifically, chemically made to not to give us nutrition, but to hit our pleasure centers. And because they hit your pleasure centers but don't nourish you, that's why you can't stop at one chip, because nothing is being fulfilled in your body, so you keep eating until you're stuffed. No. Yeah.
They should start doing that same Dorito effect thing to stuff that would help people, like maybe bug protein or whatnot.
Right? Yeah, like infuse it with it. Right, exactly.
Like, oh man, I can't stop eating these crickets.
Right. Yes.
Pass me that roach.
Give me that roach over there, and not that kind.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that kind.
Maybe that kind.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, those are the 3 I'm working on now, and anime-wise, that's the problem with animes. You can't really talk about the stuff you're currently.
And stuff.
Yeah. What can I talk about? I can't. I can say this. And this is going to throw a lot of people for a loop, because it's been, 5 or 6 years, and anyway, apparently in early March I'm going to be working on a new show for Funimation, which I haven't worked for Funimation since, I did a couple of shows right after Soul Eater, and that was, what was the show where I played the kid with the wrench, Mobsters, and Bakano. After Bakano, I did like 2 more shows, and since then I've not worked for Funimation. So that'll be a new, working for Funimation again will be interesting. It's a show that's been announced and that people know about, but I can't talk about who I'm playing or anything because I'm. Anyway,
you can just say spoilers.
Yeah.
So it might be spoilers.
Exactly.
One thing about Colorado Anime Fest, they currently are doing they're doing charity auctions and stuff to support ALS. Are there any charitable organizations or works that you're working with currently or supporting?
I mean, I did. Kieran has sort of reignited my activism. I will tell you that my ex is a big activist. In fact, he is now. He works as a policy advocate for the disabled for the Department of Labor in D.C. So things have gone really well for him in D.C. But the 5 years I was with him, my life was very inundated sort of by activism and lobbying and LGBT activism and activism for the disabled community. And so when I broke up with him, I just kind of gave my brain sort of a break from all things that reminded me of him, and a lot of that was activism, but here lately I've been thinking, what am I, I talk about all these things that I stand for, So now, having met Kieran, I'm going to join the Kaleidoscope Project, which I think is pretty cool. It's not a charity, but it is a group that's a safe space for not only LGBTQ people, but more importantly, I think our allies. In other words, just people who identify as straight, heteronormative people who
or cisgendered.
So it's cisgendered, heteronormative people who are allies of the LGBT community, and I think they don't get proper respect a lot of the time, because even though they are straight and cis, they're willing to kind of put their reputations on the line and maybe even their jobs just to defend people who aren't like them at all. So I think
because
that's
as rights advance, there's always that pushback against that.
Right.
And people need friends. People need allies.
Yeah, and a lot of especially younger gay people don't appreciate allies, and I would kind of like to shine a light on that, And the Kaleidoscope Project is a place where they've got a safe space to ask the quote-unquote stupid questions. What do these terms mean? What do you mean when you say blah blah? And without derision, without being made fun of,
because if you ask those on Facebook or something, people just
people attack you, which is ridiculous.
You're like,
I'm just trying to learn.
Right,
I'm trying to learn. Yeah. That is something that's important to me. God, I wish I had more. Not just time. I wish I had, to be honest with you, I wish I had more money, because I don't make the kind of money to where I can be like a philanthropist. It's one of the reasons that when I sit down and think about, well, why would you like to be making this much more income? One of the reasons is because I would like to throw more money at a philanthropical cause. So right now all I can do is speak up. I can go to marches, I can do things like that, but I can't really throw money.
Twitter and social media.
Yeah, I can be loud on social media without being obnoxious, hopefully, but yeah, so that's where I am with that.
So, speaking about being loud and obnoxious, is there anything you'd like to go ahead and pimp and promote before we leave?
God, let's see, keep watching Akame ga Kill and Parasite on Toonami. Although I think Akame ga Kill came to some sort of big finale last night. I think.
Kind of.
I'm here, but I saw the Twitter was blowing up about Akame ga Kill last night. Something big went down. And anyway, I would like to say that we just got, I think I can say this, so we just got through recently working on the new season of Log Horizon, and I play William Massachusetts, and he becomes a much bigger character in this season, and I just think it's sort of like an alternate take on Sword Art Online, and I think it's a really cool show. Apart from that, I don't think there's anything I can talk about just yet. Black Bullet just came out. I can definitely talk about that. I play the lead, Rintaro, in that, and that's a really, really fun show. And I want to say, as of last week, Ghost Stories is up on Crunchyroll. So...
With the dub?
Yes.
So it's good.
Right.
Yes,
the dub of Ghost Stories is on Crunchyroll, so go watch the hell out of that.
I have a Crunchyroll account. Most people who follow us should too.
Yes.
So where can people find you online?
Oh, God. So, of course, the Facebook. And I think it's just... Well, it's easy. Just put in Christopher Patton. No. Put in Chris Patton. If they put in Chris Patton voice actor or Chris Patton Houston, it'll pop up. And what is my freaking Twitter handle? It's Chris D Patton. Yeah, that's what it is. And those are the only two. I've got a Tumblr and I've got an Insta and I've got all that, but I don't. Well, actually, I post on Instagram constantly. I'm Chris F Patton there. That's for Chris Patton.
Yeah.
So there's Chris F Patton on Instagram and Chris D Patton on Twitter. I got a Tumblr that I don't use. What else do I have? It's basically it. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Yeah.
And thank you very much for doing this interview.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, over here at Colorado Anime Fest 2016 with
Chris Patton.
And until that next episode comes out, you are now caught up.
Woohoo!
Welcome back to Radio DMG. I'm your host, Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and I'm here at Colorado Anime Fest 2016 with...
Kieran Strange, how's it going?
Doing okay.
It's been like so long since we've seen each other.
I know, we recorded that concert of yours a while back.
Back here. Last time I was in Denver.
Yeah, just in case people are not familiar with who you are and what you do, who are you and what do you do? What do you do?
Like I said, I'm Kieran Strange. I was born and raised in the UK, made in England. Very good. And I'm a musician. I write... Oh, sorry. Do you mind if I start again? Sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Yeah,
You do things.
I do things. Hi, my name's Kieran Strange. I'm from across the pond. I'm a musician. I'm also an activist for LGBTQ rights. That's sort of my main two sort of focuses right now. I love to write music about geeky stuff and stuff I'm going through, that kind of thing.
So, when did you get started in music? What led you to get interested in music?
Music has always been something that's really been close to my heart. When I was a kid growing up in England, I was raised above my grandmother's pub. She owned the flat above the pub. And every night I'd go to sleep listening to the jukebox or to live bands playing. My family, while they're not, they don't pursue instruments or writing music or anything like that, they do appreciate music. They're very big connoisseurs of music. So I grew up with... Top of the Pops and everything on TV, and my dad playing music on Saturday and Sunday mornings, just waking up to that. So music's always been a really big influence on my life, especially when I was a teenager, finding myself, I relied a lot on music to sort of say the things that I couldn't say. So.
Any particular artists?
Yeah, when I was a teenager, My Chemical Romance were a really big influence. Linkin Park, lots of stuff that had sort of darker, grittier lyrics. The Used, really good. My dad listened to a lot of like Depeche Mode, Spandau Ballet, that kind of stuff. So I got into a lot of 80s stuff as well. Bowie is a huge influence. So that was pretty rough this last couple months since
We've
it's
lost
happened.
a lot of people in music recently.
Yeah, Lemmy and Bowie, and oh man, it's been brutal. Bowie, I cried for days. I didn't stop crying for about 3 or 4 days when I found out about Bowie.
Then Alan Rickman so close to it.
Oh, I know, and then Alan Rickman, and what's going on? 2016 sucks so far. We got to make it better. We got to do something about this.
It's like people in music stop dying.
Yeah, please.
We implore you that.
See,
We'll start Kickstarter for it.
I'm 27 this year, so I've got to be careful. Because there's the 27 Club. So I got to make sure I avoid that. Got to make it to my 28th birthday.
Yeah, avoid all the heavy drinking and driving, right?
And the drugs and the cocaine and all that. Well, I don't do that anyway, so that's good. I very seldom drink on tour, actually. It affects my voice too much. So I'm that boring person who sort of doesn't drink. Like, I don't need drink tickets. It's all good.
I grew up above a pub.
I've done my drinking. I did it when I was 5. It's all good.
That kind of sounds like a Harry Potter type thing. It's like, I grew up under the stairs or above the pub.
Right? It's like, and my mom is like super Molly Weasley as well. Like, if you meet my mom, she like is Molly Weasley. It's hilarious. She even knits. It's really cute.
And like a ton of kids? Oh.
No, actually, just me and my brother, and then my sister as well. So there's the 3 of us, I'm the oldest, so I was the test for everything.
The one that just said, it's like pretty much like, oh well, this didn't work with that, so we'll be nice to this kid.
Yeah, we'll be nicer to this one now. No, I was truly lucky. I had a great family.
There's a lot of pressure when you're the eldest,
Yeah,
because everyone's like, oh, they want you to be an example for the rest of the kids.
Yeah, I was Hermione Granger as a kid though. I was like that swotty kid who we were called boffs in school. I don't know if you guys call them just nerds or swats or like what your word is for that kid who's the teacher's pet.
Sure, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I was like a prefect at school and that. So I feel bad. I think I led a really harsh example, like being like, I'm going to get all A's and now I'm going to move to Canada and become a musician. So,
and they're like,
No, he's great. My brother's great. He's got a kid and he's working a really good job. He's got into the trade, so he's doing really well for himself. So he's a smart kid.
So, did you take any music theory or anything when you were in school?
No, I didn't. I would love to take a music theory class. When I write, a lot of it is purely instinct. Like, I'll be like, oh, this feels good, or this sounds good, or I'll sort of, twat around on my guitar and try and write like a chord progression, and I don't think about building the chord structure from a musical theory point of view. It's more like, oh, I feel something in my gut, like it needs to coda here, and then I'll take it to my co-writers, because most of my songs I co-write. I love co-writing. It's such a good way to draw stuff out of yourself that you normally wouldn't think about. and they'll help me sort of fix any of the chord progression issues that I have, that where I'm not musically trained. But I'd love to take a theory class. I think of all the classes you could take if you want to be a musician, music theory is great, and also just business management is like super useful to have, because I went into this knowing nothing about business, and now I'm okay.
It kind of sneaks up on you. Just
yeah, you're like,
wait.
oh gosh, I have to market myself. What is branding? Like, I changed my hair color and people got really angry at me and were like, no, you have pink hair. And I was like, oh, okay, branding is a thing apparently.
Oh, yeah, there's actually a pretty good series of those called like guerrilla marketing, guerrilla branding.
Oh, cool,
all those
really?
things. They're pretty
good. Oh, wow,
yeah.
Interesting. There's so much online. Like, people always ask me, like, how do I get started as a musician? And my one thing I would say is read ebooks. Read ebooks about social media, about crowdfunding, about how to tour, like how to write music, like connect with people in your local area. Like, a lot of people think go for the X Factor kind of thing, but you're way better off just spend $10 on some ebooks and learn some stuff about how to market yourself is definitely the better way to go.
Another good one's like the E-Myth or so. Some other one thing about marketing and such is marketing. The other flip side of marketing is activism. And I heard you're starting something recently.
Yeah, I stumbled into it because I've always sort of had I've always not really known what's going on with myself gender-wise, and I came out as at the time bisexual, but now I believe pansexual when I was 14. So I never really looked at the LGBTQ plus community as like, oh, I should get involved in this because blah blah blah. It was more I need to be involved in this. Like, it felt wrong to sort of hold back on that and not be myself. I felt like I would get up on stage and be like, oh, be yourself, but I wasn't practicing what I was preaching. And this winter and this last year, 2015, has basically been the year of finding myself and really trying to find out like what's different about me. And through that I discovered that yes, I am gender fluid, leaning more male, don't know which pronouns I want to use, so right now I'm using she and he. I plan on going to counseling and figuring some stuff out, but through that I realized that I wanted to help sort of give back to the LGBTQ community and really focus on doing something that is good. Like, I'm put in front of hundreds of kids on stage and with a microphone in my hand. Like, what better opportunity is there to be an activist?
Yeah,
it's
kind of like when we were growing up, kind of like the old big sister, big brother type thing.
Yeah, totally.
Where when you're in that community, you realize, hey, there are people who are newer to this community.
Yeah.
I'm just here. I have to set an example for the people who are just entering this thing. And
also I learned so much. Like, I mean, I'll get more onto the project that I started in a second, but I've learned so much just through, I've run some panels, some LGBTQ plus panels at conventions, and from the people who come in, I learned so much about myself or about other lifestyles, because I'm still learning too, and I think it's really important for us as activists to say, well, I don't know everything. Like, we're still discovering everything. I don't know what I am or who I am. I don't really know much about polysexuality or open relationships, that kind of thing. Like, I'm not very educated on that. So if I meet people who are in open relationships, I like to sit down and be like, do you mind educating me? Like, tell me, like,
and
teach me.
You have to have a safe space to be able to ask those questions.
Totally,
because sometimes people get really upset when you're like, well, I don't want to tell you about this personal thing, and you have to be careful about
it's so easy. I mean,
the information part is the hard part.
Yeah, and the word trigger gets thrown around a lot, but it is something we do need to address. And while I don't, nobody really has the ability or the right to go through life trigger free, we're all going to be triggered at some point, and it's sort of the way we deal with those triggers. But transgender people have so many triggers. Like, when we're all different, we all get triggered by different things. I knew a trans woman who was very triggered by me asking about her, the gender she was born as, the sex she was born as, and it's different for every trans person. Some trans people are totally cool. I'm totally cool with talking about where I came from because I feel like it's still a part of me. But some people don't want to talk about it, so it can be very difficult for them to be asked questions about their transition or what they're doing or what being transgender is, and to be asked questions that might be a little grating. Like, and when allies are coming in and everybody wants to help. Like, everybody who wants to be an ally doesn't want to offend anybody. That's the bottom line, is no one wants to offend somebody. But it's going to happen because when allies are coming in and they're new, they don't know the proper linguistics, they don't know, there were a bunch of words I didn't realize I shouldn't be using.
It's like the the like dwarf and the other one,
midget
the midget
and little
like,
person, and there's so many
stuff
different
like that, yes.
terms. And for me, the big thing I wanted to do was I wanted to create something. There's two main goals I wanted to create with LGBTQ plus community and the nerd community and the convention community, because there's so much crossover between the two, which I think is a lot to do with the fact that the nerd community is super accepting, and cosplay is such a great way to test out dressing as your preferred gender and your actual real gender. So to me, it was a no-brainer that there needs to be somewhere for LGBTQ plus nerds. Like we need a thing, and there's things out there, but I wanted to start one that I could promote at conventions. And I'd meet someone in Portland and be like, oh, you love my friend Chris from Indiana or something, and I'd want to put the two together. So I started the Kaleidoscope Project, which you can find on Facebook, and it's basically, it serves two purposes. One is to inspire and support and encourage people who are maybe transitioning or thinking about transitioning or questioning. Questioning is like a really big part of it as well, right? Because you don't know. Like, a lot of this is us finding out and experimenting and deciding what we do and don't like, and having a support group who have been through the same thing. I mean, for me, talking to other people who are either F to M, or which is female to male, or who are gender fluid but don't want to say that they're F to M, like, it's good for me to kind of talk to both and get an idea of where I might sit. And the second one, which, like you said, creating a space for allies, I wanted to create somewhere where allies could ask questions. Because allies are going to ask questions, and I've done it. I've offended people. Like, I've accidentally offended someone. One of the questions we got asked was, I think the phrasing was a man trying to become a woman. And, we gently explained, like, we don't refer to it as this because then we explained why it was disrespectful, and he was really grateful that we had explained it. And if he'd been screamed at by somebody, then he might go, well,
it's the
F you, I don't want to help you out.
That doesn't build a positive relationship with that. And speaking of positive things, what do you think so far about Colorado Anime Fest 2016?
Oh man, I love it. You know what? The amount of people I've seen walking around, and I've just been like, because when I see attendees, I'm like, oh, how's your con going? And they're like, it's really good, I love it. And I'll be like, it's amazing, I can't believe it's a first year con. And people have gone, it's a first year con?
I know, there's just this great energy about it,
really, right? I got here on Thursday and I was in a down place. I wasn't feeling good, and I was like, how am I going to get through this weekend? By Friday afternoon,
energy just lifts you up.
Yeah, man, by Friday afternoon, I was just like, I was in my zone. I was just so happy. Like, everyone has such, like, the staff and the volunteers, and every guest here is a sweetheart. Like, everyone's super lovely. And, like, all the staff and the attendees, like, everyone's just happy. I don't know if it's because it's so sunny here.
Oh yeah, it's been really, really nice.
It's been
this
really
week.
nice. It's cool.
Yeah, Colorado's brilliant, beautiful around here. One thing I've noticed at a lot of these conventions is there is that energy about that just that great energy, and I think this would fall into your Kaleidoscope project as well, in that when people leave the convention though and go back to their quote normal end quote lives,
reality,
where they're dealing with family or bullies or school or work or whatnot, they tend to just lose that energy completely and flatline, kind of a post-con depression.
It's con depression.
How would you expect? How would you suggest they help deal with it? What would you suggest people do to help deal with that?
My big thing, like, because I get major con depression, the thing with me is, because I do, like, a bunch in a row, is, like, I don't get it until right at the end, and I get, like, 5 cons worth all at once. The one thing that always, because, like, the drive home, I'm always really buzzed, and then you get home. The one thing that really inspires me to keep going is, like, that energy you feel when you leave the con and you're like, next year I want to do this cosplay, and we're going to do this, and I want to book this room, and, like, maybe I'll think about doing this or running this panel. Like, don't wait, just, like, start planning how you're going to do that cosplay. Make friends at the conventions, find them on Twitter. Twitter has a great listing feature, so you can just basically take everybody you've met at conventions, that's what I do, and list them. I've got a list that's like cool people I've met at cons or something like that. And so I can keep in contact with them, and the social media is so cool.
You can just
keep that energy going, like keep it going online.
Using the social media, just keep swimming.
Yeah, totally. And all of the cons have, at least most of the cons I go to have Facebook pages and groups, and the groups are great. The pages are more for the cons to advertise, but the groups themselves, I'm pretty sure Colorado Anime Fest has a group.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and well, with the social media girl we have, it definitely has a group. She's magic.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, she's so good. And so, join the group and just, like, keep reliving that energy, and post in the group and enjoy the group and turn the group into a community. Like, post about, like, who's excited for season 2 of Attack on Titan.
Yeah, that type of thing. That's gonna be awesome.
Totally. Like,
So, before we get going, this is the last question.
Sure.
Is there anything you'd like to pimp or promote before we go?
Let me think. Well, obviously the Kaleidoscope Project is something I really, really
And
want
where
to
can
pimp
people
out.
find that?
It's on Facebook right now. I think it's /groups/ the Kaleidoscope Project, or /group/ the Kaleidoscope, one of the two. Or if you just search Kaleidoscope Project, the color scheme is like a cream with like a bunch of pastels, so that's the easiest way to find it. My other thing I guess I'd love to pimp out would be I have an Etsy.
Oh.
I fall asleep in the car. Anybody who has like followed my social media knows that I fall asleep in the car on tour, and it really pisses off my managers. Like anyone who's tour managing will take photos of me and be like, oh my gosh, like I can't, she's asleep again, like what do I do? And so I've discovered that if I make buttons on the road, it keeps me awake in the car. So I've started a button making business, and it's really fun. Like I love it. I get to make comic book buttons, and we do pronoun buttons. We do the Kaleidoscope Project has a series of buttons that we've done, and I do all the graphic design and cutting and smashing myself. And that's Adamantine Arts.
Adamantine Arts, like the adamantine hearts. Like
Hey, you got it. I was so
Absolutely.
happy when I came up with that. I was like, yeah.
Oh, that works. And it's good for branding.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you very much for doing this interview.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always super nice chatting to you. Man.
Absolutely. I wish we had a little bit more time.
Oh, it's all
fine.
good. No
It's all
worries.
good. Anyways, thank you very much for doing this. This is your host, Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth. I've been here at Colorado Anime Fest
In this
2016.
beautiful room.
Absolutely.
With me, Kieran Strange, musician and person who does stuff.
Yes, person who does stuff. And until the next episode comes out, you are now caught up. Welcome back to Radio DMG. I'm your host, Will Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and I'm here at the Non-DesCon 2016. It's their 20th anniversary, and I'm here with...
Alexis Tipton. Hi, guys.
Just in case our studio audience doesn't know who you are and what you do, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Alexis Tipton, as I said, and I'm a voice actress based out of Dallas, Texas. I work predominantly for Funimation Entertainment, dubbing the anime. I also do work for Okatron 5000 Studios in Dallas, Texas, and I also work for studios out in Los Angeles, dubbing video games and anime. And I'm also a film and theater actress as well.
So, what attracted you to acting and theater?
Oh, goodness. Well, I did get my start in theater. I started as a very small child. I think I kind of didn't have a chance because my mom is very, and always has been, even before I was even a thought, has always been very involved in the arts. She's kind of an artistic jack of all trades. She does it all. So between that and the fact that my dad and a lot of members of my extended family are also very supportive of the arts, I was very lucky to receive a lot of culture from a very young age, ballet, live performances, museums, all kinds of things. And so, I was very much touched by that world from a very young age. And my very first live performance of any kind that I ever saw was a professional touring company of the Nutcracker Ballet. And when I saw that at the tender age of 3 years old, I knew that I wanted to be up on stage doing something. I knew, I didn't understand it because I was so young, but I later discovered that it had given me this amazing feeling watching this story live and experiencing what these amazing, incredible dancers had to offer. And I knew that in some way I wanted to be able to give that feeling that I had received to other people. Maybe not through dance, maybe, I'm still kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do, but from a very young age I knew that there was power in that, and I wanted to be a part of it. So my mother, being who she is, very much encouraged that. And I started studying theater and found that I really loved it and have just continued since I was very small to learn and to grow. And it's just been an amazing part of my life. It is my life.
What was your first performance in theater?
Oh, goodness. If you want to be real technical, my very first performance in theater was in kindergarten when we did a Peter Rabbit play, and I was one of the three sisters. I think it was Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, and I think I was Mopsy. But my first true play was in third grade. My school, I grew up in Kansas, my school had this tradition of every year the third graders would put on the same play, so we knew it was coming. And it was a Western retelling of Cinderella called Clementella. I know.
It's got one of those little carriages with the fringe and the Surrey on top.
Yes, and instead of a glass slipper, it was a silver cowboy boot. But I got cast as Clementilla, and it was a lot of lines. It was actually kind of a lot for a third grader to handle, but like I was so excited, and after we did it, I was hooked. And just kind of continued from there. But yeah, Clementilla.
What part of Kansas?
Wichita,
Oh.
Kansas. Yeah, I was born in Wichita, Kansas, and I lived there until I was 9.
So in the only 2 actually inhabited sections of Kansas.
Right, yeah, it's big enough to be on a map. So there was that. Could have been worse.
I've driven through Kansas so many times.
I'm sorry.
Well, at least you didn't say like Colby or Saline.
No. I mean, by Kansas standards, it was a city, just not by other standards in the United States. But no, I've actually been back in the last 5 or 6 years. An old friend got married, and my whole family went up for the wedding. And the town, I can't call it a town anymore. The city had really grown up.
It's got a Starbucks now.
Yeah, well, I hadn't been there in like 15 years. And I was like, and I was seeing all these people from my childhood, and I was like that hadn't left. Like, my family and I have a joke. You either stay in Kansas for the rest of your life, or if you, quote unquote, get out, you do something really unusual with your life. Everyone I know who's gotten out has a really unusual job. So, yeah.
Escaped from Missouri.
There you go. So,
Yeah,
you feel it.
pretty
Yeah,
much.
you feel like No, it was a great place to grow up. I have no regrets about being a child in Kansas. It was a really great place to grow up.
And when you stepped outside, you could see across the state.
Right, it wasn't that bad, but my family moved to Southern California when I was 9. And then, of course, like the Dorothy jokes never ended. I guess you're not in Kansas anymore. I'm like, I haven't heard that 8 million times.
You just want to give them a Toto to the T.
Right. But yeah, so and then I moved to Texas when I was in middle school. I've lived in Texas the longest out of all 3 states, so Texas is home.
So how'd you get tricked into voice acting?
As I said, I've been doing theater for quite a while, and when I moved to Texas in middle school, even when I lived in Southern California, my elementary school, when I was living there, actually let out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because we started so early, and so when I would come home, I had enough time to watch the entire Toonami block, like the original Toonami. And I didn't know it was called anime. I just knew that there were these really cool cartoons on TV. I really enjoyed them. They were just different than, like Looney Tunes or, Animaniacs or whatever, stuff on Cartoon Network. And so, I enjoyed it. It was something my brother and I enjoyed watching together, but we didn't know what it was. And it wasn't until I moved to Dallas, this group of girls that kind of adopted me into their group of friends that I'm actually still friends with today, they were big fans of anime. And that was sort of a conversation that they had with me when they were introducing themselves. They asked me if I liked anime, and I said, "Do you mean like animation? Like I'd never heard that word before." And they started explaining it to me, and I was like, "Oh, that's what I've been watching. Yeah, I know what that is." And so fast forward, when I was a senior in high school, I had been really competitive and really involved with theater for about the past 5 or 6 years. And anime had become a growing hobby for me, and I found out that Funimation was located really close to where I lived. Long story short, got the necessary information that I needed to submit my demo reel, my resume, all that good stuff to be considered for an audition. I was lucky enough to get called in, and here I am, almost 8 years later. So
Success!
Yeah. And I just thought it was going to be one of those things that, maybe I got called in for a few small things, and then it would just sort of like fizzle out, and that would be it. And I just kept getting called back, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to say no. Like, this is amazing.
It's money.
I initially auditioned for them my senior year of high school, but I didn't start working for them steadily until I was a sophomore in college. And so, being 19 years old and like getting to do all this like really cool stuff, it was just amazing. Going to school full time and then acting after school. So it was really cool. It was really interesting. And then I had something cool to share with all my friends because they were really excited for me because they knew what anime was, and my family was excited for me because they knew that I was getting to combine, my passion for acting and my hobby that was anime. So really cool.
And you get to get sent out to places like this, like
exactly,
NonDescon.
yeah. And that took, because when I started working, it took about a year for things to come out. So there was sort of this like year or two where I had, a number of credits, but I either couldn't talk about them or they weren't out yet, so I couldn't share them with anybody. But then when I started getting to do conventions, I've always just loved travel, and I've been very fortunate to have parents that thought it was important and had the means to allow my brother and I to travel with them. So when I started being able to travel for work and get to just talk about this really fun job that I have and get to talk to people that like the same things that I do and network with other actors and other professionals in this industry, and it's been amazing. I've gotten to go to so many places that I never would have had a reason to go to, and just met so many people, so many amazing people along the way. So yeah.
So what do you think of NonDescon so far?
This is my favorite convention. I've been doing conventions for about 6 years. I've been to a lot, and this is my second time at convention, words, I talk for a living.
Yeah.
This is my second year at NonDescon, and I've been to some amazing conventions, but this one is on another level. Not just because of the convention itself, but because of how myself and the other attendees are treated and how we're provided for. I mean, I feel like a princess when I come here. Like, it's incredible. And then you have beautiful Colorado, beautiful Denver. It's a perfect time of year. A lot of me and the other actors joke that, like, if something falls apart back home, like, we would totally move here. It's amazing.
This is literally where the capital is in Hunger Games.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, we just have so much fun.
So which Disney princess do they make you feel like?
Oh, God. All of them. No. They just... sometimes I feel bad because we are so well provided for. I'm like, you guys, oh my gosh, like, I don't want you to think I expect this, but everyone here is just so amazing. And I've noticed last year and this year that a lot of the staffers at this convention have been doing this a long time, that they're very emotionally invested in this convention, and there are a lot of family members that do this together, that have been doing this together for a long time, and the pride that the volunteers and the staff have in this convention is very evident, and it shows through in the execution of the events and how everything is set up, and even just in the emails that I receive leading up to the event. Like, it's so organized.
It's like, that's not a, hey, you showing up?
It's a dream. Well, sometimes I don't even get that. Like, it's such a dream. Like, I wish that some representatives of NDK would give seminars to other conventions on, like, how to have a really successful convention. And as you said, it's the 20th anniversary, so they must be doing something right.
They've been around for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm always so thrilled to be here. It's amazing.
So, would you say the energy of the convention is pretty good?
Oh, of course, yeah. And it's always really nice when I get to come back to a convention that I've been to before because I see so many familiar faces. And I've also learned that the attendees of this convention are just as loyal as the staff and the volunteers. In fact, a lot of volunteers are also attendees. And so, yeah, everyone is so sweet, so polite. I never have any problems with anybody in panels or on autograph sessions. I mean, everyone is just as sweet as they can be. I mean, I think it's just something in the clean mountain air up here. Like,
there's lots of stuff in the clean mountain air.
That's true.
It's not always clean.
There's a political statement in there, and no, but I'm always so impressed with every aspect of this convention, the attendees included. So.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed at a lot of conventions, because we do cover a lot of convention ourselves, there's a lot of energy around here, a lot of really good, positive energy. And people go to these conventions and they're just bouncing off the walls, they're just happy. It's a great little high.
Yeah.
They have that wonderful energy. But when Monday or Tuesday rolls around, when people are going back to their schools or jobs, their bosses and employees, they tend to lose that energy. Do you have any tips for how people can keep that energy?
Goodness, I think one of the reasons, and you're absolutely right, everything that you just said. I think one of the reasons why NonDescon and conventions in general, especially successful conventions that provide a wonderful space for attendees to come and let their freak flag fly, and express the love for their fandom or fandoms, is that unfortunately, and I think it is becoming better. I've certainly seen a change even in the last few years. But unfortunately, with so many pop culture things, there is the, the word nerd associated with it, and there are people that want to bully people that are interested in anime or Disney or sci-fi or what have you. And luckily, quote-unquote nerd culture is becoming more mainstream, and so I think that's sort of pushing the bullies out. It is still present, and I think the wonderful positive energy comes from the fact that so many people can come to an event and know the second they walk through the doors that they have at least one thing in common with everybody here. And that feeling of inclusion, that feeling of acceptance before you even start talking to people, it's in the air, it's in the walls, it's everywhere. And so I think that energy might dissipate because then they realize, especially if they are the unfortunate victims of bullying because of their passions, that now they have to go back to school where it's not this kind of community. And so that's why I used the term reality. Like, it kind of sucks. You get to come to this utopia for a weekend, and then you have to go back to real life.
Or in some cases, a zootopia.
Exactly. But I think, to answer your question, I think to keep up that energy, I think it's so important to just find people outside of a convention that love the things that you love. If you're in school, especially if you're in college, usually most college campuses have an anime club. A lot of high schools are having anime clubs now, or video game clubs, or whatever your passion is. A lot of public libraries have anime clubs. Find a place where you can go that you get that same sense of belonging. It may not be on the same scale, but you will still have those people that I automatically have something in common with these people. And like so many other things, I think it's just about feeling accepted and feeling validated and knowing that it doesn't matter what you're interested in. As long as you're not hurting someone, who cares? And if it makes you happy, that's all that matters. So I think just finding a sense of community outside of anime conventions, even if it's an online forum. Because I've also noticed that bullies are less likely to target people that move in groups. And it doesn't matter what they think. If they still think that what you do is beneath them or whatever, if you have a group and they see how many people are rallied behind you, they're going to back off. And also just keep in mind that bullies are just sad individuals that don't feel like they belong anywhere. So don't let the bullies get to you. Find community and carry that energy from the convention into your communities outside of the conventions. And make the world a better place.
So, on a slightly lighter note, well, definitely a lighter note,
right,
before we get going, is there anything you'd like to promote or let us know about?
Well, Funimation later this year is coming out with a redub of The Vision of Escaflowne. Very exciting. We premiered the first two.
Yeah, I remember the original dub for
yes.
that. I still have my box for that.
Oh, wow.
And my Blu-ray.
Wow. Well, we're redubbing it, and it's uncut because the original Escaflowne dub was cut because they were trying to appeal to younger audiences at the time. But when we release, I voiced Merle, I'm really excited about it. But when the box set is released, just know that you will have access to not only the original Japanese, you'll have access to the original dub, and you will also have access to the new dub. So you'll have two dubbing options, and then the original Japanese. So if you still love the original Escaflowne dub, it is still going to be provided for you. I hope you'll give the new dub a chance. We were all very passionate about it. We're so excited to appeal to new fans and bring new fans into the Escaflowne fold. But it's also very important to me and the rest of the cast to also have the blessing of the original fans. So that's definitely something to look out for. Also, if you want to see anime faster, I recommend signing up for Funimation.com's Elite Video subscription. That is a sort of Netflix for anime on their website. You get streaming, dub and sub, hundreds of titles. All these series will be out on DVD, but you get to see them ahead of everyone else. So it's also Funimation's a way to cut down on pirating. So it's really, really helping the industry because pirating kills the industry. It kills the industry in America, it kills the industry in Japan. So do what you can, support the industry, buy legal dubs, check out EBS, you won't be disappointed.
You guys also have those, the simulcast too on that, right?
Same thing, yeah. Broadcast. Sometimes they're called simulcast, sometimes they're called broadcast dubs. Tomato.
Yeah.
Same thing. But it's a wonderful initiative, and we're getting in so many new shows. So definitely check it out.
So, where can people find you on the internet?
I'm most active when it comes to social media on Twitter. You can follow me at Alexis Tipton VA. VA is in voice actress. And Twitter's probably the best place to find me. I also have a website. If you'd like to send me fan mail, it's just alexistipton.com.
And so Twitter's your favorite hunt?
Yes.
Thank you very much. This has been Radio DMG. I'm your host, Wesley, the Mile High Mouth. I'm here at NonDeskCon 2016, their 20th anniversary with
Alexis Tipton.
And until the next show comes out, you are now caught up. Welcome back to Radio DMG. I'm your host, Phil Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and I'm here with
Lauren Landa.
And we're at NonDeskCon 2015. Woo!
Woo!
It's been a long convention so far.
Yeah, it has. It's been a lot of fun, though.
So, we've, just in case our listeners forgot who you are and what you do, again, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Lauren Landa, and I am a voice actress from Los Angeles, California. I've done the voices for Kasumi in Dead or Alive 5, Annie Leonhardt in Attack on Titan, Yon Leisha in Soul Calibur 5, Kyoko Sakura in Madoka Magica, and most recently, and many others, but most recently I was announced as the new Sailor Neptune in Sailor Moon.
That's a pretty exciting thing. So, what have you been up to since the last time we've talked to you?
Getting cast as Sailor Neptune.
It's the highlight of my life. I'm a fictional character.
That's the only thing that I can talk about as of right now. So, but yeah, there's been a bunch of other stuff, but that's been a pretty big part of it, and I can't believe that half this year has already gone by already. It's kind of scary.
I know. Oh, well, actually, more than half of it. We're in September.
I know. It's almost holiday season.
It's almost time for us to start hanging out our Christmas jack-o'-lanterns.
Yes. Christmas jack-o'-lanterns.
Absolutely. So, What do you think of the convention so far?
Well, this is honestly, personally, one of my favorite conventions ever. I've been going here. This is my 4th year here. I can't believe it's my 4th year here. And I love it every year, even more. The staff are amazing. I'm very close with the staff here. Also, the attendees here are absolutely amazing. Everybody's so nice and polite. The panels are a lot of fun. We get good crowds. It's really all been great.
So, what do you think of the new hotel?
For a while, it took some getting used to because it's one of those things, it's a change, and I'm kind of like Stewie. I don't like change kind of deal. But I think it's very nice, and I think, it's downtown Denver. We got a lot of stuff all around. There's restaurants all around here. There's shopping to do. So I think it's a great location, and I think it's a perfect size for this convention.
Oh yeah, and there's the Taste of Colorado going on this weekend.
Yeah.
Have you gotten to see it yet?
Not Taste of Colorado, but we did go on a tour, the bus tour, which was awesome. We got to see Molly Brown's house. We got to see I'm going to pronounce it wrong, the Brown Palace, Hotel? The hotel, what is it called again?
I am not actually sure. We've lived here for years.
Okay, it's right across the street. So it's I just always forget, but it's beautiful. We went there last night. Very, very pretty. The tour was very, very interesting. We got to find out a little bit history about Denver, and it was a lot of fun.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. Speaking of a lot of fun, we had recorded a panel, which you can see up on Area DMG, for the Titan Talk panel.
Oh, yeah.
So, which donut did you end up with?
Which donut?
Yeah.
I ended up with the cookies and cream one.
Oh.
I didn't even finish it.
Oh my goodness!
I know.
Yeah.
It was the regular. It was like a glazed donut with frosting on top and Oreos, like chunks of Oreos on top. And I claimed that one. I saw it and I said, "That's mine," and I didn't even finish it. So, but I've always wanted a voodoo donut, so I can now say that I've had a voodoo donut.
Yeah, but it's kind of a rite of passage, kind of like Casa Bonita. It's like nobody really wants to eat the food there, but you have to say you ate the food there.
And now I've done both. So what does that make me like a true Denver native now?
I think so. There's other stuff. I mean, there's a bunch of other pizza places you need to check out at some point while you're here and all that.
Okay. Well, I am a fan of pizza, so that's totally fine with me.
But it's a pretty good. It's been a pretty good year in terms of this indicates it's been so busy.
Yeah. It's been very busy.
But coming back to I'm gonna ask you a couple things about Attack on Titan.
Do it.
You were talking about during the panel, you were talking about the scream that you had to do.
Yeah,
at one point.
the Titan screams. Yeah.
So how rough was that, really?
Well, Mike McFarlane, who is the voice director of Attack on Titan, he also was the voice of Jean Kirstein, and he also was the voice of Master Roshi from Dragon Ball Z. So Mike knows a lot about screaming for hours on end because it's from Dragon Ball Z. So he knew that it wouldn't be easy, but he knew that I could do it, and we scheduled kind of I don't want to say a separate session, but we had set specific times for all of those screams. And if you remember, in the panel, we talked about, when she screams during the final battle, she's grunting, she's screaming, she's attacking. But there's one particular scene, and it takes place where she's in the forest. I don't remember what episode exactly. I think it's like episode 22 or something, or 21. And she is in the forest, and she all of a sudden throws back her head and screams very loud and for a while, 3 times. And that was just one consistent scream after another. That was very painful to do, because if you remember in the original Japanese, it's very, and I just poked myself in the eye. It comes from the gut. It comes from the back of the throat. So it was painful, but I'm very happy with how it sounds. So it was a lot of fun. I love to do that stuff in sessions. It just hurts. It just hurts to do so.
So what do you do to help recover your voice? I know some people eat apple slices, and there's the lemon and water things and salt water. What do you do particularly to help preserve your voice?
Well, I sleep. Sleep is very, very important. Resting it is very important. Don't overuse your voice. Don't talk too much, which is an issue that I have because I love talking to people. But most of the time, hot tea and lemon will help. Also, I don't remember the actual Chinese name for it because I'm a horrible person, but the Hulk juice, which Fred Tatasciore used. I'm sorry, Fred Tatasciore? No, the original Hulk.
I don't know the original Hulk's name.
Yeah, it's my brain.
We have to Wikipedia that.
Yes, we'll wiki that, and I should know. Again, horrible person, but Hulk juice helps a lot. It helps soothe your throat, but rest and sleep really, really help. Most of the time after a video game session, if I am done for the day, I will go home and do absolutely nothing, because video game sessions especially are exhausting, and then anime sessions like Attack on Titan are also very exhausting.
So any particular type of tea that you recommend?
Oh gosh, I have no idea. I'm not an expert on tea. Whatever tastes good to me, but peppermint seems to be the one that a lot of people like. So
because of the menthol and such in it?
Yeah, I think so. And peppermint just tends to have a lot of healing qualities, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, it just clears everything out.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, I'll get to eat a candy cane or something when when the holidays come around.
So with like Attack on Titan, I guess spoiler, your character's a villain.
Yes.
Do you ever find that people online tend to not separate you from the villain? As in, how do you deal with the occasional super fan that's just a bit really annoyed that you killed off that particular character and then just wants to take that out on you on Twitter or whatnot?
I've never dealt with that.
Excellent.
I hate Twitter personally. I'm not a fan of Twitter, and all of my pages are private. So I actually don't have any fans on either page, simply for that reason. I love what I do, and I love nerding out with fans, but that doesn't necessarily mean that,
Yeah.
But I understand when you love a show so much, but I have to say that I don't see Annie as a villain. I understand that in season 1, that's the basic term that you would call her, because she is the big bad at the end. But psychologically and technically, I really don't see her as a villain. I see her as a victim of, not a victim, but I see that she was on a...
Complicated.
It's very complicated because we don't know her history. We don't know why this is her mission. We don't know why she's doing what she's doing. But if people paid attention, what they remember is that Aaron rips her head off and she's crying, which means she's showing emotion, which means she either regrets what she did or she's upset that she had to do that, and she had to betray her comrades, So anybody who is a villain doesn't cry over that. So I actually do not see her as a villain. But as I said, because it's the first season and because she's the big bad at the end, right now that's okay, but we don't know what her past is. So, but we will find out.
Delve deeper into that. There's I guess you could say that we have yet to see the cracks in the wall of her personality.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just barely skimming the surface of this.
Right.
It's not crystal clear yet.
You're on a roll today.
I'm trying to get there. It's like, I had coffee this morning, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's okay. I haven't even had coffee,
Oh,
so.
no. How are you operating? You've got autograph signings
no
after this.
idea. I know. It's interesting because most of the time, before autograph sightings, I'm exhausted. I know because I'm going to be talking a lot, but then the moment people walk in and the moment they show me their beautiful smiles and that they're excited to be here, that helps me get really energized.
It's that energy. You're just drawing off that.
Definitely.
Feeding off of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, we don't want to keep you from recovering a bit before your autograph session. So
it does take some recovery.
Oh yeah. Before we go, is there anything that you'd like to go ahead and promote before we leave?
Well, I'd love for everybody to keep an eye out for when the release date of Sailor Moon S is going to be. This show is very dear to my heart. I was a big fan of Sailor Moon back in the day, and specifically Sailor Neptune and Sailor Uranus were my favorite characters. So this is very, very special, very dear to my heart, and I am really happy with how things are sounding, and I really hope the fans out there really like it, and we are doing our best to give Haruka and Michiru what they deserve. So.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This has been your host, Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth. I'm here at Non-Descon 2015 with
Laura and Linda.
And good night, and you're all caught up.
Yay!
Welcome back to Radio DMG. I'm your host, Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and I'm here at Colorado Anime Fest 2016 with
Marisha Ray, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And just in case our audience isn't familiar with who you are and what you do, who are you and what do you do?
I ask myself that question every day. I am a voice actor and actress out of Los Angeles. I'm also a host in the kind of geek sphere of the entertainment industry, and you can also see me on Geek and Sundry's Twitch show Critical Role, where a bunch of voice actors play Dungeons and Dragons on Thursday nights.
And you participate in that one, like as the
I do.
one of the players?
Yes, I am a half-elven druid named Keyleth, who's kind of the moral compass of the group that is still trying to find herself and figure out who she is. But it's a great cast filled with amazing, talented voice actors. And Matthew Mercer, another talented voice actor, is the Dungeon Master. But yeah, Liam O'Brien, Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey, just to name a few, are part of the cast. And it's quite a blast.
So, how did you get interested in this industry, the voice acting and such?
Well, I've been a video gamer and a comic book nerd my whole life. So my dad has pictures of me being 3 years old and playing Super Mario Brothers, and I could kick his ass on most games on the NES, which was great at the age of 3. And I did a lot of theater acting on the East Coast and grew up acting and doing theater, and then came out to Los Angeles, and my worlds kind of started colliding after that. So I started hosting in the video game industry and doing press work and things of that nature. And then from there, I continued with my acting, and doing host work and press work in the video game industry led me to meet a lot of people, including voice actors and directors. And then from there, I kind of made a reel, and it took off from there. Voice acting has definitely probably been the path of least resistance that I've found in Los Angeles thus far. Sometimes you just don't know until you try.
So you did a lot of video game press. Who were you with originally, like with those?
I worked for a company called hang on, wait a second. What was the name of that company? Oh, sorry. Crave Online. I started working with Crave Online first and hosted a show called The Grind for them, which was sponsored by Alienware. So I was kind of with Alienware for a little bit and was freelance for a while. I would kind of just work with different press outlets whenever they would need me. A lot of times I would go to conventions and cover conventions for them. And yeah, from there I actually ended up taking an improv class and met a lot of other people who were also in the industry just by happenstance, and made contacts and kind of went from there.
Oh, so you mentioned that like you grew up kind of in the doing a little bit of theater stuff and all that. What are some of your earliest memories of the theater? Like, do you prefer musical theater over normal theater, or what?
I prefer experimental black box theater.
Oh.
I've done a lot of musical theater, but some of my favorite productions that I've done are the ones that are in a tiny little black box theater with like 50 to 100 people seating. I love the intimacy that black box theater provides. So one of my favorite productions that I've done, I did a production of Danny and the Deep Blue Sea, where I was Roberta, which is a phenomenal play. Let's see, what else? I've done some Shakespeare in black box theater, which is really fun when you take Shakespeare and kind of condense it down and make it more experimental. Then, of course, Shakespeare just lends itself to so much new ways of interpreting it. So I did a production of Midsummer Night's Dream in that way, and I worked a lot with the Actors Theater of Louisville back when I lived in Louisville, which they do the new plays every year, and they've got a pretty good reputation for burgeoning actors and theater actors. And yeah, I did a lot of stuff in New York. I did a few musicals in New York off Broadway. But like I said, I just really fell in love with the more intimacy of black box.
Which also kind of lends itself to like the improv stuff you're talking about.
It does,
right?
yeah. And I've done a lot of improv as well, which also tends to be in a more intimate setting. I like when you can feel the audience that close to you, and there is definitely a give and take in theater of energy. We feel the audience, and then the audience feels us. Every time they react, it gives us a boost.
So have you done any stand-up or anything yet? Not yet?
Stand-up is on my to-do list of things to try. I've done a lot of theater, I've done a lot of improv, which is, adjacent, I guess, but not really. There's something about stand-up where when you're there alone on that stage, raw, just telling jokes, it's a very vulnerable place. Anyone who is a talented stand-up comedian, that is not an easy job. That is not an easy job. So, I've been thinking about trying it. Going to maybe an open mic night, seeing how I do.
And speaking about difficult jobs and stuff, what do you think of Colorado Anime Fest 2016? This is their first year as a convention, and what do you think of it? What do you think of what they've done here?
For a first-year convention, it's been phenomenal. It actually doesn't even feel like a first-year convention, which I think is very impressive, because so many conventions are about camaraderie and, it's not just about coming to see the things that you enjoy, but it's also about the community. You are surrounded by people who know and love the things that you know and love. And that, I think, is more a part of a convention than what a lot of people will give it credit for. Finding your people, you got to find your flock. And I think this convention thus far has really lent itself to that. And you're already seeing so many people group up and get together and have their hangouts afterwards, and that's what a con is to me. It's like the modern day equivalent of like a church, like an anime church is how I feel about them.
Yeah, so far I've noticed the response has been pretty good from the crowd. The only thing I've heard anybody say is that they wish there were more vendors who sold manga here. That's about it.
Interesting. I actually haven't made it down to the dealer's hall.
Oh, you haven't yet?
Oh.
You're missing out on. There's this one booth that's got like all these. They sold out of their little ice cream narwhals.
What?
Yeah, they had ice cream narwhal plushies.
Oh, that's so damn cute.
I know, right? They sold out of those really quick.
I'm sure.
They have all sorts of other things too, like alpacas and stuff like that. So it's definitely worth checking out.
I'll have to do that. Especially now that it's Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
The schedule might lend itself.
Oh, another thing to check out is the charity auction. They're doing.
Yes.
They're doing for their charity. They're covering
ASL,
ALS. ALS.
ASL. American Sign Language.
Yes.
ALS.
Just pretty much all I know is water.
Yeah. I know hot dog.
Yeah. And then Creed taught me that particular movie taught me all sorts of curse words for it.
Yeah.
But yeah. But ALS is the charity they're supporting here. Are there any certain charities or anything currently that you're active in or supporting?
Yes, actually. Critical Role is currently sponsoring a charity called 826 LA. Mm-hmm. And there might be an 826 branch in your city. I don't know if there's one in Denver. That'll be something to check out. But they are an after-school tutoring program that focuses on creative writing and reading. And like I said, there's probably an 826 in your area, and the cool thing about them is that every 826 tutoring center has a storefront, and each storefront is a different theme, and they just sell little tchotchkes and fun things that it's like a great place to take a first date. It's really cute. So the one in Los Angeles, the 826 store is themed time travel, and it's called the Time Travel Mart, and you can go and just get all sorts of little tchotchkes, nanobots in a jar,
TARDIS.
Yeah, exactly, stuff like that. There's one in San Francisco that I think is dinosaur themed, I think. Don't quote me on that one. And then I'm pretty sure there's one in Seattle, there's one in Chicago. The one in New York is superhero themed, which is very appropriate. But yeah, 826 is a great organization that I'm in love with, and if you don't want to donate to their cause, I implore you to go down and tutor a kid. Volunteer.
Reading and literacy is something that America's a bit behind in. We need to improve more of that.
Yes, and reading, it's so important for everything going forward. Of course, knowledge is power, and they put you through arithmetic in high school that you'll never use. But reading and creativity, and just like creative writing, I think is such an important outlet and such an important skill that it doesn't matter what career choice you go into. It's important. It's important for people to still be able to use their imaginations even into adulthood. And I think society has this terrible habit of when children reach a certain age, they're expected to grow up really fast, and suddenly, playing pretend or make-believe seems juvenile and childish, and I think that's silly. And so, there seems to be a very hard line.
That's why board games are there for adults,
Exactly, exactly, and why I love Dungeons & Dragons so much, and why I'm thrilled to see the resurgence of all these tabletop RPGs, because they're giving adults permission to play pretend.
Yeah, because like we kind of need that outlet after
We do.
all these stressy things,
We
you know.
do. Yeah, I mean, our day-to-day lives are stressful. That's true for everybody. And there's a reason why games like World of Warcraft are so popular. In Second Life, you create an avatar, and you can do all of these things. You can be a successful warlord in World of Warcraft, where in real life you might just, who knows what you're doing. You might be unhappy in your job, and that's why I love Dungeons and Dragons as well. And I love there's so many more schools now that Dungeons and Dragons is starting to become more socially accepted, that are starting Dungeons and Dragons clubs, and they're like running games for kids in elementary school, and they've done, there's been a lot of studies done that prove that Dungeons and Dragons help with social skills, building, real life interactive skills with people, because you're exercising those in game that you can then take to the real world. Mm-hmm. There's this terrible idea around gaming in general that I think certain people look at it like it's a waste of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, during the early '80s and the late '70s, there was like that push toward like, oh yeah, Dungeons and Dragons will lead your kids to Satanism or whatever.
Right,
it's the whole Phil Phillips, Gary Greenwald thing.
Oh, of course. Mm-hmm. It's just sad. It's sad.
But going back to slightly happier things here, of course. We were talking about books and literacy. Is there any particular books that you're reading currently that you'd like to talk about, or have you also looked into audiobooks too? A lot of voice actors also do audiobooks.
That's true. I tend to I lean a little bit more towards being a reader. Mm-hmm. I appreciate audiobooks, and there's certain things. I read Tina Fey's book, Bossy Pants, which is really great. I just finished that not too long ago, and she has a section that she did. If you do the ebook version, mm-hmm. she has a chapter that she's read that's an audiobook version, and that was like super fun to hear Tina Fey read her book. So I think it depends for me. If it's the author of the book doing the reading, then I think I'll tend to lean towards it more. But I just enjoy having the words run through my brain, so I can give them my own filter.
Voice,
right? Yeah. My own voice, exactly. But yeah, Tina Fey Bossy Pants is really great. I just downloaded. I haven't really gotten very far. Speaking of gaming, mm-hmm. And how gaming's not a waste of time, and how gaming can save the world, Jane McGonigal's book, Super Better. And Jane McGonigal, for anyone who's not familiar with her, she's a game designer, and she's got her doctorates in design, I think. And she has done a few TED Talks that are amazing. That's all about how gaming can save the world. Yeah, and she talks
like world peace through shared popular culture.
Totally. Same type of concept. And she talks about how so many people spend hours, especially in like World of Warcraft. Some people spend almost as much time on World of Warcraft a week as they do their day jobs. And so her question was, what skills are we building? And how can we use these people who are investing so much time into gaming to better the real world? And so her book, Super Better, it kind of goes about that, on how you can take the concept of gaming and enhance your life and almost attribute a game to your life in that way. So she's phenomenal. I highly recommend you check out anything that she does. She's great.
Excellent. And speaking of like taking that game and applying it to real life or so, one thing I've noticed at a lot of conventions is there is a lot of really great positive energy that people have at these conventions and such. And sometimes when people leave these conventions and go back to school, to work, to their just everyday normal life, they tend to lose that energy. They just seem to, when they deal with family or bullies or coworkers or whatnot. Do you have any suggestions on how people can take that energy from the convention, from their hobbies, and apply that to their everyday lives?
That is an excellent question. I'm a burner. I go to Burning Man every year, and that's one of the huge philosophies in Burning Man, that you take that positive energy and all of the cultural aspects that you've learned and loved, and the humanitarian aspects of it, and because there's always kind of a depression that you get when you have to go home. And I'm sure several people experience that here at cons. And especially when, depending on who you are in your day-to-day life, maybe your love of anime and gaming isn't as socially accepted amongst your peers. So many people can come to conventions and events like this and feel at home, feel, I guess, once again, normal in quotes, even though nothing's normal, for lack of a better term, I guess. So yeah, there's definitely a certain kind of sadness and that can come with feeling like you have to return back to the real world. And I've learned that if you can take the things that you've learned and loved, one of the things that I learned about myself at Burning Man was I enjoy wearing funky clothes. And I would dress crazy there and then would come back and just wear jeans and a t-shirt. And it's like, man, if I want to wear a vinyl skirt covered in pink bows, who cares? I should do that. It makes me happy, and I'd say find the things, just when you go home, meditate. What made me happy here? Man, I loved dressing in my brony costume. Damn, that made me so fulfilled. And then take that and figure out how just slowly you can just start incorporating that into your day-to-day life.
Having things that remind you.
It reminds you, exactly. You don't have to go crazy. I'm not saying dress in cosplay every day, because I don't think that would make anyone happy. But,
yeah.
But, if you, there's so much going on with, the closet cosplays, If you want to try and pull a closet cosplay of Vegeta together at the last minute, do it. If it makes you happy. I think so many people get so concerned with what other people think of them and what they're going to judge them, and then eventually you grow up and realize that no one was thinking of you to begin with. So don't worry about it. You do you, and find what makes you happy here, and then slowly try and just bring those little aspects into your day-to-day life. That's what I've done.
Well, thank you so much for the interview. Before we head on out, is there anything you'd like to promote or pimp or anything?
Well, let's see. I guess since I can now officially announce it as of yesterday, so you'll be the first one to get this in terms of on press and recording it. I am a few voices in Fire Emblem Fates.
Oh yeah, I already pre-ordered that special edition of that. We'll be doing an unboxing of that when it comes out.
Awesome, love it. So I'm a character named Effie in there, in Ouroboros, and I'm not going to spoil the other ones.
Okay.
You'll just have to wait and see.
Oh yeah.
But
are they on the Conquest or on the Birthright section?
I'm not telling.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a little bit of both.
Maybe.
Yes. I'm pretty partial to Effie, though. So if you come across Effie, I think she can be
recruit
like
that character and don't let him die.
Don't let her die. She's
Do it
great.
for her.
She's great. I loved her. She was a blast to record. So I can finally announce that as of yesterday. I think only because someone else leaked it. But hey, it wasn't me.
Actually, it was on. I think Nintendo Everything or something had the full cast list.
Okay, so it wasn't like a leak necessarily.
No,
it was.
They did it on
purpose.
They're like, hey guys, this. Or like,
awesome, cool, yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, and of course, check out Critical Role on Thursday nights on Geek and Sundry's Twitch channel. It's
Excellent.
7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
And where can people find that and find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Marisha_Ray. You can follow Critical Role on Twitter at Critical Role, or go to geekandsundry.com and you can catch up on all of our back episodes on that website.
Excellent. Thank you very much for this
you.
interview. This has been your host, Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, here at Colorado Anime Fest 2016 with
Marisha Ray. Thank you guys so much.
And until the next episode comes out, you are now caught up. Radio DMG. I'm your host, Phil Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and we're over here at Non-Descon 2016, or rather their 20th anniversary with
Richard Epcar.
So, just in case our audience, our studio audience, isn't familiar with who you are and what you do, who are you and what do you do?
Who the hell am I? I'm Richard Epcar. I'm the voice of, I've done over 500 characters in games, animation, and anime. I'm well known for the Joker in several Batman games, including Injustice, Gods Among Us. I do Raiden in Mortal Kombat. I'm Bato in Ghost in the Shell. I'm Ansem in Kingdom Hearts. And many other shows, including Bleach, Naruto, Durer, Hunter x Hunter, on and on and on. I started out in Robotech, and I was in just hundreds and hundreds of titles. It's hard for me to remember them all. Sometimes I'm doing Old Joseph and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, just a bunch of stuff. So I've been doing this for now 30 plus years, and it gets better every year.
So, what inspired you to go into voice acting?
Well, I'm an actor. I came out to Los Angeles to be a on-camera actor. I thought I was going to be the next Clint Eastwood, and I wound up being the next Mel Blanc for some reason. So, but it's turned out to be a really good thing for me. I've worked on a lot of wonderful things, like in A Legend of Korra and some great shows, and I've been very, very fortunate. I'm also Commissioner Gordon in a new series of Batman films called Batman Unlimited. So I'm the Joker and Commissioner Gordon, so I don't know if I'm good or bad. I'm just really torn.
I'm surprised they didn't get you for the Killing Joke. That would have been very interesting.
Well, that was one that I know Mark Hamill wanted to do for a long, long time. So yeah, it's well and proper that he got that. So it's fine. But yeah, I mean, I'm really thrilled to be playing the Joker. He's a great character, and he's a lot of fun, and certainly an iconic character.
So, did you start out with theater? Like, what inspired you to move out to California?
Well, I'm actually born and raised here in Denver, Colorado.
Denver, Colorado.
And I grew up here, and I did plays starting out in kindergarten. And then I did a lot of plays in junior high and high school. And then, I went to the University of Arizona in Tucson, and they put me on a full drama scholarship, so I did a lot of plays there. And then I went out to LA, and I did a lot of soaps and TV shows and that sort of thing. And my wife actually kind of got me into the voice thing. She was doing a movie one time, and they needed to replace the voices of another movie that they shot. They weren't happy with the actors. And she said, "Can I bring my boyfriend," who was me? And she brought me over there. And the guy said, "Have you done this before?" And I said, "I've done it a million times, and I never did it before in my life." And I went in there, and I took to it like a duck to water. And I think part of the reason is that I'm a drummer also. Aside from being an actor, I'm a drummer. And there's a rhythm to the dubbing stuff. So
that sync point, that
yes, exactly. There's a rhythm to, and the mouth movement, all that stuff is very rhythmic. So I think that people that are musically inclined have a much easier go of it than people that don't. And I just fell into it, and they really liked what I did, and I booked on that, and I did a bunch of other stuff, and then from that I got Robotech. And from Robotech I just started booking every anime thing under the sun. And then from that I started doing games, and I started directing, and started writing the stuff, and we did foreign films in English, and I've traveled all over the world, supervising for DreamWorks and Universal Pictures, and it's been a wonderful career, I got to say. I've been very, very fortunate and very blessed.
What were some of the early soaps you were on?
Days of Our Lives and Santa Barbara and General Hospital.
Okay, I was waiting for that one.
Yeah, and Young and the Restless, and I did pretty much all of them that were shot in Los Angeles. Yeah, and I always played a bad guy. I know it's hard to believe, but I was always a bad guy.
Well, which is more fun, playing bad guys or good guys?
The bad guys are really a lot of fun, actually. I had a lot of fun. I had really a lot of fun doing that, and I did a lot of TV shows like Highway to Heaven and Paradise, and just a bunch of stuff. Columbo I worked on with Peter Falk, and Matlock, and just a bunch of these shows that I got to work on with these guys that I grew up watching when I was a kid, so that was kind of fun, you know.
So, what was your favorite part about growing up here in Denver, in Colorado?
I love Denver. Denver's a great city, and I miss it. And every time I get invited to do NDK or any of the conventions here in Denver, I'm very excited because I get a chance to come home. And I love Denver. Denver's a wonderful city. You know, I do enjoy Los Angeles, and I really actually enjoy living there. I'm one of the few people. I think there's 5 of us, but Denver's such a great city, and it's I don't know. There's just a real community feeling about the entire city. There's a lot to do here. A lot of wonderful restaurants and shops, and the people are great, and you know, there's a lot of camaraderie, and you don't have that in LA because LA's so diverse and spread out, and there's different sections, and so it's a little different. But you know, it's when I get a chance to come home, I do like to come home. I have one cousin left here that still lives here, and so I get to see him when I come back, and that's nice.
I'm the same way.
But you've kind of built kind of a life out in California, huh?
Oh yeah, I've been out there about 35 years now. So I've actually lived out, and I've lived in LA longer than I've lived in Denver, but I was born and raised here, so it always seemed like home to me. You know.
And speaking about making a home out in California, how did you meet your wife?
My wife and I met. I was auditioning for a repertory theater, and she was in the company at the time. And I had seen her before in a play a year or two before that, and was very smitten with her.
A stalker, you?
Yes, I was kind of a bit of a stalker actually. And she was dating my next door neighbor at the apartment that I was staying at. And he was a little unsavory, to tell you the truth, and I had a real crush on her, and but I stayed away because I know she had a relationship, and as soon as that went south, I moved in for the pounce, you know. We've actually been together 34 years, and 36, I should say. We just celebrated our 34th anniversary. So so we've been together a long time. We have 2 kids. Our son's a drummer, a professional drummer. He was on Spider-Man, Turn Off the Dark for 5 years, and he's on Lion King, and he's sub-song for Hamilton and some of these other shows. And he was in a band called Carney, and they opened for U2 and toured with Fergie and opened for her in Vegas. He's played for Rihanna and Justin Timberlake, and he's on John Legend's album. And my daughter is an amazing singer. She's a singer-songwriter and writes her own songs, and she's phenomenal, and she appears around Los Angeles and plays at clubs and stuff like that. She's an amazing singer. And I really believe one day she's going to blow up really big, but but she's very talented. We have I have to say, a very talented family. And I'm very proud of all of them. They're really great. So.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, which do you prefer? Like, do you prefer on-camera work or off-camera work, voice acting?
I love them both. I really do. The thing that's real different about the on-camera stuff as opposed to the voice work is that, on camera you're kind of relegated to the way you appear. When you're doing film or television, you're cast pretty much for the way you look. When you're doing voice work, you can be any character that you could create vocally, and in a way, it's almost more creative. Because if you look at the majority of the TV stars are basically playing themselves in every show they do, and which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a lot of fun, and I would love to do a lot more on camera. I actually have a film coming out called Broken Spirits, and I have one of the leads in that. That's going to be out soon, and I play a shady shaman in that. That was a lot of fun, and excuse me. But hopefully I'll be doing some more on camera stuff. I hope so. I've got some scripts in the works that I've written, and I've got some projects in the works that I'm working on. And actually, Ellen Stern-Epcar, my wife, has written a sitcom for the both of us to do, and it's very, very funny. And she did a great job, and I'm looking forward to doing that. And hopefully that'll do some stuff for us. So. We're always busy. We're always doing stuff, and like I said, I'm very, very fortunate. I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm always working, so it's a good time.
Always hustling, always
doing stuff. Yeah, it's great.
So, one thing about conventions I've noticed, actually, you were mentioning this earlier, like that little bit of, you like the energy around Denver, around these conventions?
I do, absolutely, yeah. For me, it's like, we do all of the different conventions, and, we've done some of the bigger ones like Dragon Con and all this stuff, and people always come up to me and they say, you voice guys seem so much nicer than some of the on-camera actors. I think the reason is that, we're stuck in these dark booths all day long doing these parts, and we don't know if people are going to like it or not like it, and we go to these conventions, and people are very effusive. conducive, and they just love the characters, and they really relate to what we do, and it just makes it really, really nice for us. Whereas the on-camera guys, it's a little more immediate because they're recognizable, facially. And
It's kind of like a facial prejudice where when someone looks at an actor, they're like, oh, that actor, or I know that actor, or I don't like that actor. But when they hear a voice, it's easier to. It's more like more of the soul comes across through the voice.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but I've played so many different characters vocally, which is really nice. And there was a period when I was doing a lot of subs, when I go into the supermarket and get recognized and stuff like that. But it is kind of nice in a way just to go to dinner and not have a bunch of people bother you while you're eating your dinner. But listen, I wouldn't mind that either. I'd be thrilled for that too. So it's all good. It's all working out the way it's supposed to work out. So.
Yeah, there's that energy, especially at these conventions. You'll love that. And these conventions, people are just bouncing off the walls. They just got that convention high, that just emotional energy that just manifests itself and just explodes out.
Yeah.
But one thing I've noticed is people will be so incredibly happy and high and really energetic during a convention. They get out of the convention, go back to their workplace or school or to their bosses and bullies. They tend to lose that energy. They tend to go on a really bad post-con depression.
Oh, really?
Do you have any tips or suggestions to help people take that energy from the convention and bring it to their everyday lives?
Well, it's hard. Listen, it's like anything you do. Anything that fills you with joy and you're really having fun, and then that goes away suddenly, and you're kind of back to the real world, the reality of it all. It is a bit of a downer, but you just have to, remember that, it's all part of life. There's good stuff, there's bad stuff. You just have to ride it and try to stay even keeled. And I think what's so wonderful about the conventions is that so many people, they get to dress up like their favorite characters, and it really makes them feel good. And I was at one of these conventions, and I was sitting at a table next to a doctor and his wife, and they were kind of a little freaked out by all the cosplay. And I said to them, you know what, these guys they're good kids. They're not on drugs. They're not stealing cars. They're not doing anything bad. They're just
I don't think they could run those costumes.
No, they love these characters, and they want it's really fun for them to become these characters. So I said they're not hurting anybody, and it's just pure joy, and they enjoy it. And I think I changed their whole outlook on the whole thing. And I just think it's wonderful. These conventions, every year they get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's unbelievable, So there's a reason for it,
Yeah.
But I just think, people have to remember, this is the convention, and they're having fun, but, they have to realize that, that once the convention goes, it doesn't mean everything goes to hell. You just have to, look forward to the next time or something else. Or, there's moments in life where you have to look forward to things coming up. But life goes very quick, so you just have to try to stay positive and happy, and most of it is mental. You just have to convince yourself that you're having a good time and things are good. And when you're feeling happy and positive, good things come to you.
Well, it's kind of like The Secret, where you can be a whole attractor thing.
Yeah, and it's true. It's really true. I don't know anything about The Secret. I know kind of what it's about, but.
It's pretty much like think positive things happen.
Well, it's true, because I know people that get into like these ruts, and then they just they get more and more negative, and the more negative they get, the more bad things happen to them. And it's like sometimes you just have to really flip that switch, and just try to be positive about everything, because things will turn around if you have a good attitude.
Well, before we go, is there anything you'd like to go ahead and promote, and where can people find you on social media?
We have a lot. Well, first of all, you can find me on Facebook and Twitter, Richard Epcar. Richard Epcar on Facebook and Richard Epcar on Twitter. And I have actually 3 pages on Facebook. I have a fan page and 2 other pages, Richard Epcar and Richard Epcar 2. So you can find me there. You can also find me on my website, which is richardepcar.com. And as far as I'd like to just say to all the people out there that are fans of my work and that have been supportive of me over the years, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. I've been very, very fortunate. I've gotten into some sticky wickets where I've replaced some actors in some parts, and it's been a kind of a hailstorm sometimes, but I've gotten through it, and the fans have been wonderful and been right there for me, and it's just been great. So thank you for that, and I hope you appreciate what I do, and I love what I do, and I hope you do too. So there you go.
Thank you very much for the interview. This has been Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth for RadioDMG.com, and
Richard Upcar.
And we've been here at Non-DesCon 2016, their 20th anniversary. And until the next episode comes out, you are now caught up.
Sonny, instead of talking about Dragon Ball Z, let's talk about Escaflowne.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah, they're retyping that, aren't they?
Yeah.
I can't wait. Yeah.
You saw that Okane had seen the. Yeah.
Yep, I've heard good things about it. So I'm not a fan of the old Ocean dub. So I'm have like high standards, especially with the Kickstarter.
I think it was pretty good for its time, but we've come a long way with anime dubbing since then. You know, I mean, it wasn't really an industry back then. It was just something that people did for extra work. And now it is such an industry that we are looking for actors now. You know, we've got more shows than we've ever had, and it looks like we may be getting even much more coming up soon. So I always tell people, if you want to get into voice acting, this is the time to do it. People will say at conventions, why do you always use the same people over and over? And I said, because we tap the talent.
Well,
From 3 coasts, we have people flying in all over the country to come to Dallas to record, and we've used them all.
Well, and with how One Piece still has like 500 more episodes to go.
And 1 million more characters to go, probably. Half the time, if you see people waiting in the lobby, it's to audition for One Piece. Okay, I'm just drawing characters over here. It's Usopp and Krillin.
Oh, that's awesome.
There you go. Have we started?
Everything's just kind of still set up, and then whenever everyone says they're all ready, we can kind of shoot, just go kind of counterclockwise, one question each, and
Most of us
one question each.
round.
Make it a good one. I always say that, like, one of these days I'm going to go to a panel, I'm going to have nothing but these cards that'll have everyone's in the room their question. Because I've been over 18 years, I've been asked every question. And I'll say, is this your question? How do you get into voice acting? Is this your question? Who is your favorite voice actor? Is this your question? How is it someone your age can look so attractive? Oh wait, that's Vic Mignogna's.
I think what we're doing right now is many of us have actually started recording, and we'll just fix it in post.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Oh yeah, good. Yeah, I still think the pub crawl would have been better. Maybe next year we can do that. Or we started the dispensary like this man wants. So
yeah, let's just go counterclockwise around the table.
Yeah, okay. Starting with.
Should we introduce ourselves?
Oh, yeah, introduce yourself first.
Okay. Who are you?
Oh, my name is Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth. You can go to radiodmg.com or dmgice.com. And let's move on to the next person.
I'm Jerry from Anime Hype.
Hi, Jeremy.
I'm Marcus Hanks from Kaiju no Kami.
Marcus.
I'm Kelly from Kaiju no Kami.
Hi, Kelly.
Kyle from Broken Analog.
What's up, Kyle?
I'm also James from Broken Analog.
You're also James?
I'm also from Broken. I'm sorry. I'm James from also from Broken Analog.
Okay. You only lost 5 points. You can still make a 95, and if you get the bonus, you'll get 100.
James, make us lose.
Okay. So, you want to start the questions?
I guess we're going in this way.
This way. But we're starting, you're 12 o'clock.
12.
He's 3. Yeah.
I'm at the 12 or 0. No.
You should be here if you're 12 o'clock. You would change. Okay.
You're 12 o'clock.
I'm 12 o'clock.
Okay.
Welcome to the 12 o'clock meeting. I'm 12 o'clock. I'll be your host.
So,
yes.
Just to start this out, just in case any of our studio audiences or video audiences aren't familiar with who you are and what you do, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Vic Mignogna. My name is Sonny Strait. I am primarily a voice actor and director, and I'm also a cartoonist. My cartooning work mostly has been through ElfQuest, which has been published at Warp Graphics and DC Comics. And I'm also a colorist. I'm coloring ElfQuest at Dark Horse right now. And I had my own series, We Shadows, that was published by Tokyo Pop, that was nominated by the American Library Association for Best Graphic Novel of 2008. But mostly I'm a cartoon voice actor, known for Krillin from Dragon Ball Z, Usopp, One Piece. I was the original Toonami Tom for Cartoon Network. What else? Koro Sensei from Assassination Classroom, Maze Hughes, Full Metal Alchemist. Tons. Somebody had put every character they thought that I did. So I've got all your characters on here, and I went, how many are 67? Nope. That's close, though. You're almost halfway. But you also have to count the characters that I do under a assumed name. Like a lot of bit parts, I'll do under the name Cool Das, Kuldas, who's already got a lot of internet credits now. He sounds like a young me. When I used to be a religious educator for the Denton Unitarian Universalist Church, and the Unitarians don't really believe in anything, they just have their suspicions. And we got to meet a lot of religious leaders from different religions. And my family became very close with the leaders of the Hare Krishna temple in Dallas. These guys are the sweetest people. And we were at a party, and I said, is it wrong to want to be a Krishna devotee just to get one of those cool names you guys have? And he goes, do you want the cool name? It's the president of the Krishna temple. And I said, yeah, it'd be cool to have a cool name. He goes, then your name is Kuldas. It means servant of God's dynasty. It's a perfect Unitarian name. I was like, oh, cool. So Kuldas is my other name. So I think that's me in a nutshell.
Oh, I'm just as on it.
So you mentioned your graphic novel and everything, your publishings. Any of those would you want to see turned into a series? And if so, what character would you most want to do?
That's a good question. Well, I would love to see We Shadows. done as an anime because I own the rights to it. I'd make more money. And I would like to play this character James, which I modeled after myself, if I had gone another path in life, which was to be an accountant. And he's not very happy as an accountant.
I get that.
Yeah. But yeah, but the thing is, like, ElfQuest, Wendy and Richard Pini, the creators of ElfQuest, have been trying to get that made into a movie for years. They came really close. Warner Brothers optioned it twice recently, but they finally said no because they're putting out The Hobbit, and they couldn't put out 2 fantasy shows at the same time. But for me, I always thought ElfQuest is great as it is. It doesn't need to be made into a movie, because I'm a big fan of comics and the medium itself. Right. It doesn't need to be validated by being in a movie, and the same with my own work. I'm very happy with what I've done. It'd be cool to have a gravy train like that and make some money. But honestly, I like creating comics, and I like living in that world. So the money is, I don't care if it's ever made into a movie.
So how have you seen yourself evolve over the years, and what challenges did you face when going from being voice acting to also then directing?
Yeah, directing is really good for voice actors. I directed about 10 years ago. I did a lot. Well, maybe it was even longer than that, Sonny. Oh, gosh. Been in this business too long. But I directed like a lot of the Dragon Ball episodes, and I directed a lot of the Lupin the Third movies that Funimation had back in the day, and I played Lupin. So directing is something I'd already done, but I came back to it about 10, 15 years later, just recently, and it's really cool because when you're directing actors, you start adding things to your own palette, because you're like, oh yeah, that's an interesting way to approach it. And I also think that every decade or so, styles change, acting styles change. I mean, if you listen to the way we do dubbing now, and like we're talking about Escaflowne and the original Escaflowne, it's like night and day. It's a completely different acting approach. And when you've got the new kids coming in that you're directing, and people have been there for just a couple of years, you're like, oh, I see what you kids are doing. That's cool. You can add that to your palette as well. So and I have seen actors that I thought were okay actors, but after they directed, they're amazing. Yeah, so it's a good thing to do. Now, evolving, I don't know. I think I'm a little more comfortable in my skin than I used to be, and doing these panels and conventions. And I remember back in the old days, every panel had a moderator, and the moderator would ask you questions. It was like a talk show, basically. And they don't do that anymore. But I remember the first time it happened, and I was in Australia, and I go up there and I said, where's the moderator? And they said, oh, just get there and speak. I went, okay. So I took the mic and I started asking questions, and I had a blast. And from then on, I said, I don't want a moderator. I just want to do it because it goes faster, it's better, and I can relate to the people easier. And I think also more people get a chance to ask questions that way too. When you have a moderator, like I said, it becomes kind of a talk show, and so a lot of people don't get a chance to say anything. The industry itself has evolved a lot. It wasn't an industry when I started. It was just you could get a job doing anime as well as commercial work or whatever, theater. A lot of people did theater. I came from theater. But to make a living doing anime was way out of the question. And we would get asked, how do you become a voice actor? And we would tell people, don't become a voice actor. Set out to be an actor, because you don't know what life is going to give you. However, now I might say, yeah, you could probably just stick to just anime voice acting, because there's a lot of work out there for it.
I just recently watched Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F.
Oh, yeah.
I was a little bit behind. Mm-hmm. And Krillin is one of my favorite characters, and I think he gets poked fun a lot.
Sure.
And everything.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one hit. He's like the reverse of One Punch Man. So.
He's his doppelganger. That's why he's bald too. I actually texted Chris Case and I said, hey, why didn't you give me the lead in One Punch Man? I do bald characters really well.
He's One Punch Man's Kagamusha.
Yeah.
And the first scene that reveals, Krillin's the cop and such like that, and my friends are like, oh my god, he's going to get beaten up by the criminals.
Wrong.
And such like that. But that movie I absolutely love because Krillin just kicked a lot of ass and stuff. So I guess my question to you is, when reprising that role and such like that, how did you feel just kind of seeing him, not only just being like the empathetic character of like the series, being kind of like the moral compass, but then finally, you know, getting the screen time, getting like this like epicness to it.
Yeah, a lot of people say that Krillin has the best skills with martial arts. And that's the only reason he even survives, you know, because he hangs around with gods. He is literally the strongest human being. Yeah, certainly stronger than Yamcha. A lot of people say that Tien may be as strong as Krillin, and maybe, you know, but is Tien really human? I mean, I've seen a baby born without a nose, but not with an eye right by here. But the thing about Krillin, though, is a lot of people, you know, call he's a wuss, you know, whatever. He's not. He's obviously not. And he's also, I've said this many times, that Krillin is the definition of courage. Because courage is not being without fear. Courage is being afraid and doing what you got to do. And Krillin will rush in knowing he's going to die, knowing he is, just to buy his friends and family a moment to get indoors. And then he's turned into chocolate. But he knew this would happen. And so to say that Krillin is a coward is, you don't understand the definition of courage then, you know. But yeah, it was good to show what Krillin can do. You know, he still ran into the side of a cliff at one point. But it wouldn't be Krillin without that.
Right.
And a lot of people, somebody asked me on Facebook once, does it bother you that the badass character you play, Bardock, gets so little screen time, whereas Krillin, you know, gets all this screen time and he's a wuss? And I went, no, because when you play a character like Bardock, you're always on this level. You stay on this level the entire time. Whereas Krillin is like, good God, you know, he's all over the place, right? And it's a blast to get your ass kicked when you're just acting it. And Krillin gives me many opportunities to do that. And actually got me a job on a video game called Splosion Man. And Splosion Man makes a lot of weird, crazy, wacky noises. And because of the years of being a goof on Krillin, Chris Sabat, who's directing that video game, said, "Oh, it's got to be Sunny." So that helped me get that. Also, I think it helped me get Koro Sensei as well. Yeah.
Well, since this is Non-Descon's 20th anniversary, this is a pretty good convention so far. What is your opinion of this convention so far in Denver?
Oh, I love Denver. I'd move here in a minute. This is a great con, and I'm glad to see it growing so much. Last time I was here was 2 years ago, and it was in another location. But it's grown so much in those 2 years that it had to move here. So more power to them. That's great. Yeah, the fans are very nice here. Yeah. I've been to places where they're not. This is not one of them. Maybe it's all the dispensaries.
So I wasn't going to talk too much about Dragon Ball Z, but there's, with Super coming out and the whole dimensional universal things, do you think that Bardock might be coming back as part of one of those, the universal tournament?
I hope they get that settled. I would love to do Super, you know, but it's still kind of waiting. Right. But yeah, I would love to do more Bardock, and I would love to. There is an OVA of Bardock where he becomes a Super Saiyan, and I would love to do that one. I don't know why we haven't picked it up yet.
Well, being that you're a cartoonist, that you're that creative type both in the booth as well as with...
In the bedroom.
Don't know that personally, but sure.
I'm sure the rumor precedes it.
But the interesting thing of it, I think, is that you have such diversity. Do you take that into the booth with you when you're looking at the artwork? Like, wow, I wonder why they made those decisions, like what you do?
Yeah, it's a good question because they do feed on each other. And I was a cartoonist, I was a published cartoonist before I was a voice actor.
Oh, nice.
So to get in the head of cartoon characters was natural to me. And I was also a puppeteer, which takes care of the flap work on there, right? But as I think any creative person can be good at anything creative if they spend the time to work on it. And like everyone at Funimation is good at not just voice acting. A lot of them are musicians or writers and things like that because I believe it comes from the same source, and then it's just how you want to present it. You know, creativity is creativity. But yeah, it does feed on it. Like when I'm like directing now, it's affected the way I draw at home, you know, and also I think my drawing has affected the way I act as well. If I look at a character on a screen, I give a voice to the way the character looks, and it's really easy for me to use it as an avatar to just jump inside of it, which might be why I don't play many video games, because I get enough of it at work. Yeah, it is a thing that feeds off of itself. Yeah, I mean, any experience is going to be good for you, and you can apply it somehow. Yeah.
Were there any roles that you got that you were a fan of the series?
No, not really. Except I had watched Dragon Ball. I wouldn't say I was a fan of it. I liked it. But I didn't, I don't want to say I wasn't a fan, but I didn't know what it was. This was years ago. This is how old I am. Before I was working at Funimation, I had rented a VHS copy of Dragon Ball to watch at home because it just looked like a fun little cartoon. Oh, that's cool. It was a cool cartoon. It was Dragon Ball and Goku's riding on the cloud and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's cute. And then a couple of years later, I auditioned at Dragon Ball Z, and there's a poster of Goku riding on the cloud. And I went, oh, I've seen this show. What show is that? And they went, that's the show you're on, man. I went, wow, okay, cool. So that was the closest to being a fan of something, but I wouldn't say I was a hardcore fan of it. But I just like cartoons, you know.
Feeding a little bit off of being a fan of something, one thing I've noticed at a lot of these conventions, this one included, is that there's a lot of high energy, a lot of people tend to really, really enjoy themselves at these. Mm-hmm. Like they just bring that, they seem to draw that energy from the convention. Mm-hmm.
Well, you've got thousands of people living out childhood dreams. To, you know, it's Halloween every day here, yeah. Right? And so it's in an environment where you wouldn't be embarrassed to be wearing these costumes. So yeah, this is a very high energy. Everybody's giddy as children because they're just being children now.
Oh yeah,
which is awesome.
Yeah, drawing that energy though. One thing I've noticed though is when people leave the convention and go off to their normal everyday lives and jobs and schools and dealing with bosses and bullies, they tend to lose that energy. Do you have any suggestions for how people can take that energy from the conventions and apply it to their normal everyday lives?
Well, this is going to sound bad, but I don't go through that. When I go home, I'm working on stuff I really like doing. And Funimation is a really fun place to work. I have never said, oh man, I got to go to work. But I would say, if I was in your shoes, well, no, I can picture this, because years ago I used to go to comic book conventions when I was still waiting tables. But what I did was I incorporated what I did at the convention at work. I would sell my comics at my tables. People were regulars at the restaurant I worked at. They would buy like the first run of my comics because I just didn't have any shame and I just brought it up there. So yeah, bring your concept to work, you know. Bring your toys, hide them in the drawers. I'm now working with in the same studio as Cliff Chapin. Do you guys know who Cliff Chapin is? Fine young actor and director. He is starring in my latest show, Servamp. But he and I share a studio. I do it at night, he does it in the daytime. And I had already decorated the studio. And I got all these statues of characters that I've done voices for. And he said, oh, I want to bring some of my statues up here. And I went, yeah, cool, what you got? And he goes, well, I got some Robotech. And someone went, are you in Robotech? And he goes, no. And I went, you're not allowed to bring your toys. You have to bring your trophies. This is a place of business. But yeah, I would, yeah, you could take that with you. Why not? Find out who's into anime at your work, and then you could like have a secret signal. Yeah.
So with all the changes in technology and everything for the past 20 years, it's become less of a people-person job. You tend to do it all at home, or
no, we still do most of our stuff at Funimation proper.
Okay, because
one-on-one. Occasionally, we have people who will record at home and send stuff in. Like especially like if we really want somebody else, and it would be just too impossible logistically to get them to come from Canada or wherever. But generally, we do it there, and like a biggest bulk of our shows now are broadcast dubs.
Right.
And we have to use local actors for that because while it takes us a week to do an episode, you only have that week with the broadcast dub. So nothing can go wrong. You have to have those people locally there so that if you have to do a pickup or something, you can grab them. But generally, yeah, it's face-to-face.
Oh.
So with now when there's a lot of series that have simulcast dubs, has that changed the way you need to approach something, since instead of getting like a full-length series to dub over the course of time, you're doing it like, oh, we need to have this episode done by Friday because it's going up over the weekend, and then you got to get the next one done next Friday. Have you changed?
It's presented some new problems because like a lot of the shows, they're producing them in Japan a week before we put it out, right? And like with the show Serbab, I used to do this all the time anyway. If I was on especially a show that had a long run, like One Piece or something, I'd read the manga just because when you read comics, you have a voice in your head for those characters. So all you got to do is listen, how does that voice sound, and just present it, right? But now, everyone is being told to do that who directs a broadcast dub, read the manga so you know what the heck's going to happen. Because we don't know. We're a week ahead of time. Our writers are only a week ahead of us. So we just, like, I find out what's going to happen like 3 days, about a week before everyone else does. Which does present some problems. Like, there's a character coming up in an episode I'm directing next week, who I think is a very important character by the script, but in the manga, it doesn't mention who he is, but I'm afraid that it might mention who he is by the end of the series. And if it's a character we've already done, then I need to have that person do it, but how do we know who it is, right? So it does present some interesting problems. I think the payoff, though, is much better. I mean, first of all, piracy is gone at this point because they don't have a chance to pirate it. And also, it's good. It's a benefit to dubbers because, you know, a lot of fans only like sub only, right? Or if they hear the sub first, they're like so used to that sub that the dub's like, well, that's not what I'm used to. Now they don't have a chance to get used to it. You know, they hear both at the same time.
So for shows that were done a very, very long time ago, had their voice actors and such, and then just kind of reviving those shows.
Like by Escaflowne?
Mostly Lupin the Third.
Oh, okay, cool.
Like, it's a particularly old crowd, but it's a very loyal kind of fan base.
Sure.
So as far as doing the voice for Lupin the Third, did you feel any kind of anxiety or any kind of nervousness, responsibility to kind of live up with the really crazy hijinks and that ferocity of energy?
I'm a very irresponsible person. I usually don't feel that kind of pressure. Although I did base a lot of it on the original Seiyu that did it years ago, as well as, I can't think of the guy's name, but he did Castle Cagliostro. That voice actor. Loved his voice. As a matter of fact, Sabat introduced me to it when he cast me as Lupin. He says, your voice is so close to this anyway, but I want you to listen to this and listen to the Japanese. And so, yeah, we try to be, we try to present, it may not be the same voice, but we try to do the same intent for the characters, And in that case, it was trying to be very close to the original. Usopp, I try to stick very close to the original, even to this day. But in the past, when we were recording on tape, we didn't have the luxury of seeing the Japanese first. Now we see it before every line. So it's really easy to get the intention and the emotion down, because you can hear it in the voices of those actors. That's the show, I say, by the way, that if you don't like the way I do Usopp, I don't care. Because Oda cast us as this. That's one of the few shows that it happened. Although I've said it so much at conventions, I now see websites where people are going, well, you think just because a creator likes it, it's good? I'm like, no. But if you don't like it and the creator likes it, I'm going to say you're hard to please. And speaking of, I had Akane came to the premiere of Escaflowne, and they did not tell me he was going to be there. And so they came out and said, okay, Akane will come out first, and he'll speak some, and then you'll go out. And I'm like, he's here? I had prepared nothing. But he talked a little bit, I talked a little bit, we watched a couple of episodes, and during the panel he said, oh my gosh, he says, I think Sonny and his crew have to be thanked because they hit every emotional note. And he said, at one point I was wondering, when did Vaughn and Hitomi learn to speak English? And I was like, oh, thank you. We need to put that in the ads. And then afterwards, his interpreter came over to me and she said, "Oh, Connolly wanted me to let you know that he was not just saying that for the panel. He is very happy that it's in your hands." And I was like, "Oh, I can ride that for a long time." And that's, I mean, we all have become fans of what we do, obviously, right? So when we get to meet these people, we're as excited as you guys are, especially when it's our Japanese counterpart, like the guy who directed or the guy who acted it or whatever. So yeah, it was awesome.
So, is there anything that you're currently working on or that you just recently completed that you'd like to go ahead and promote?
Okay, watch Servam. That's a good one.
Where can we see that?
Funimation.com. Yeah. Also, you can see Rage of the Bahamut is one of the best shows that I've ever directed, and it's so unknown. And it's based on a card game, right? But you would not know it watching it. The animation, it's like Disney did an anime. It is very slick, very cool, and it's I don't know if you're a fan of spaghetti westerns or not, but I am. It's like those old spaghetti westerns meet high fantasy. So it's like the Old West with dragons and demons and gods and stuff in it. And Ian Sinclair plays the lead, and he is brilliant in this. The character, I thought when I first watched it, I said, he's kind of a Lupin the Third type, right? So the person to beat in the auditions was me, because I want that part. And then I listened to a bunch of people audition. I went, it's going to have to be me. You guys are not even close. You're not nailing it. And I told my producer, Zach, and he goes, what about Ian Sinclair? Did he audition? I went, no. I said, but he's Brooke. That's not the voice I'm looking for at all. And he goes, no. Pull up Space Dandy. So we watched Space Dandy. I heard 2 sentences, and I said, is he available? He said, I'll find out for you. So it's not Lupin the Third, but it is so fun and so funny, and it's much better than what I would have done to it. And I'm so pleased that he got onto it. And I'm now starting to take it to convention. I took one a couple of weeks ago, and I would like to take it to more, just to introduce people to it. Because I know that if I'm doing a panel and I'm there, they'll come at least to see me, and then I can introduce them to this. And I want to do that with other shows too, because there's a lot of really good shows that just people don't know about that kind of go under the radar.
That's all the time.
Okay.
We have for this
Well, thank you guys very much. Had a good time.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Welcome back to Radio DMG. I'm your host, Will Busley, the Mile High Mouth. I'm here at Non-DesCon 2015 with
Robbie Damons.
So, just in case people may have forgotten from the last time we interviewed you, who are you and what do you do?
Oh, well, I'm a voice actor based in Los Angeles, and I got about 7 years skin in the game, and just started doing anime last year with the new Viz redub of Sailor Moon, and as of this year, Sailor Moon Crystal, among other projects, but that's mostly what I'm known for in the anime world.
Oh, yeah. So on the other projects, anything that's happened over the last year that you can talk about?
Yeah. Sailor Moon was my first anime, and then since then I've gotten to be in several of the series. I've been working on Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Naruto SD, Rock Lee and Friends, Naruto Shippuden, and then I'm doing... what else? I'm doing a few other series with Bang Zoom, but I can't quite tell you what they are just yet.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
We'll find out.
And I still do a lot of traditional animation and video games. Yeah.
So pretty much just keep on keeping on, right?
Yeah, I'm a working actor. You know, I don't work, I don't eat. So I stay busy, and I've been really fortunate in my casting, and the last 4 years or so have been really great for me, and no small part to the fans who watch the media and the people who make it, and I'm just really happy and fortunate to be here talking to you.
So, what do you think of Non-Descon's new hotel?
Love it.
I know, right?
I do. You got space to spread out.
There's no air conditioning.
Yeah,
that's running in the background.
Yeah.
These things.
Yeah, and the rooms are frosty. That's for sure.
Oh goodness.
I think I almost froze to death in my panel the other day, but it's better than being hot. And I really, really love downtown Denver. What a cool, positive vibe, all kinds of different people, music, arts, good food, good drinks, wink, wink.
Yeah.
And, I really like the new location. I hope they stay here.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking they will for a little bit.
It's a good vibe.
Yeah. So have you checked out the Taste of Colorado thing yet?
No, Taste of Colorado's going on right now, and I haven't had a chance to do any of that stuff. They've been keeping me pretty busy here.
They're just keeping you tied to the hotel. Don't wander off.
I've wandered off reservation. I went all the way down to Ocean Prime. Had dinner there, really good. I went to the town square with all the lights and stuff, that little strip. I've walked all up and down, but I haven't got to do any of the taste of stuff. I've been missing it. Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah. I've heard it's great though.
Oh, so have you been to many conventions between last NDK and this one?
I don't have a booking agent. I don't actively pursue going to conventions. But if a convention reaches out to me and I have the time, I love to go because I love to meet the fans. But I mentally I can only do about 6 to 10 a year, if that, because I'm finding out that it's a lot of energy it takes, and it wears me out and makes me tired on Monday when I have to go to do a session, and you can hear it in my voice right now. I'm just tired.
It has been a crazy weekend.
It has been for sure, but I've gotten to go to Australia and sort of travel coast to coast, DC and New York and Chicago, Florida, California, all around. Which is where I live. But I love the convention scene. There's a lot of passion and good vibes. I'm into it.
Mm-hmm. So, going back to your work, since you've been working on the Sailor Moon series, do you have any funny stories you can tell us about that process?
Oh, it's funny. Most of the funny stories come from the conventions because there's more interaction. We record by ourselves when we record anime, as a lot of your listeners probably know. And so it's usually just me and a director, and it's usually work mode. So I wish I could say we were cutting up all the time in the studio. We do have a good time sometimes. Sometimes when Tuxedo Mask comes in and spouts off some piece of bad poetry. I brought my girlfriend in to watch a session because she'd never really seen me do anything, and it was a Sailor Moon session.
It's see, I work.
Yeah, really, I'm not just disappearing all day and going to the movies. I do that too. But it was one of those scenes where Tuxedo Mask pops out, and the villain was a makeup-based villain, and it was young ladies should wear makeup, and it was this big speech diatribe. Couldn't even get through it. It was so cheesy. Just started cracking up with the director and my girlfriend, and she was saying, "I'm so glad you guys laughed because I wanted to laugh and I thought it was rude." But no, it was fun and we got through it. But no, the cons are really where all the shenanigans happens. So it's pretty fun. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because seriously, there are some. I've seen all of Sailor Moon in the old subs and some of the older dubs.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff he comes out with.
It's pretty wacky. Yeah, the Moonlight Knight, I wanted to throw him off of the building because he's like Tuxedo Mask squared. He never has the cool moments where he just talks or is in action. It's non-stop poetry all the time. So when old Moonlight Knight merged back with the mask, I was pretty chill with that. I was all right to see him go. Ooh. There it is.
There we go. Yeah, wow, so weird. Chair malfunction.
Yeah, technical difficulties.
Yeah, of course, and you could all see that on the radio.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Well, there you go. You go it again. You're doing it with your leg. You're crossing your leg and you're hitting the button.
That's a button.
There you
go. We got all that out there.
I just thought it was Alice in Wonderland. Just shrinking on me.
Oh goodness, yeah. But making sure to keep hydrated and all that stuff. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
And not have to worry about these things. So, what's been your favorite part of this convention so far?
This year, oh man, it's the same as the fans. You know, I really enjoy. I genuinely enjoy meeting them. Everyone's got a story. Everyone is passionate about one project or another for whatever reason. And you know, I work in a passion-based industry, so to see the fandom come out and be so cool, so into whatever they're into, that's the coolest part for me. I actually brought. My dad went with me to Australia, but my mom couldn't make it because she's a doctor and she works at a university. And she was able to make it out this weekend, and she'd never seen me do a con before. And she's just walking around like wide-eyed, you know, loving all of the crazy costumes and all of the work that goes into it and all the people watching. So yeah, it's been a really neat experience. And it's been fun for me to see it because I've kind of gotten used to it in a way. It's been fun for me to see it from her eyes, you know, as a newbie. She's been having a good time. It's pretty cool.
Any particularly great cosplay you've seen this weekend?
Let's see, this weekend, what did I see that was really stand out? It's all really, you know, that's what I love about cosplay. So much care goes into it. I saw a guy that's stung out. There's a guy in a wheelchair who I believe was genuinely handicapped. I don't think he could walk, and he was a younger guy, and he was dressed as Sub-Zero, but he had like wounds all over him and like bandages, and his costume looked really good. And then he had a sign sticking out from his wheelchair that said "Fatality Survivor," and I just thought, oh man, how cool, how clever was that? I dug on that a lot. But that was one of the ones that stood out for me. Yeah.
You got to take that and use it to your advantage. That type of thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've seen some really great wheelchair cosplay. This one guy was in an electric wheelchair at, was it San Diego Comic-Con or AX, and he had built this mech around it that was like 5 feet wide, 10 feet tall, like working Gatling guns. And
awesome!
You know, so he definitely took his disability and made the most of it. It was really cool to see. Yeah.
Going back to like voice acting, now that you've gotten a lot more of the anime stuff under your belt, what would you say are the differences between voice acting for traditional American animation, those types of shows, and then Japanese animation?
Well, hopefully the root of it, the acting, sort of is the basis of it, but pretty much everything else is different. Anime, I found out, is a completely different skill set. And everything from not just flat matching, but, you know, staying true to Japanese, timing, inflection, not having another actor in the studio with you. It's definitely a totally different skill set that hopefully over the last year and a half or so I've been learning and getting better at and getting more comfortable in. And then with traditional animation, it's you have a little bit more freedom. Since you're being animated too, and you don't have to really go with any other constraints besides the script. So it's just sort of you and your acting partner, if you have one, and your imagination. And I enjoy them both equally for different reasons. Yeah.
So notice one thing with a lot of voice actors, eventually they get into the ADR and the writing side of that. Have you taken a look at any of that yet?
Oh, that's not for me, man.
No? You're like, no.
I'm not saying I would turn it down or anything, but I don't see myself as a script supervisor or director, at least not anytime soon. I come from a theater background. I used to direct, and I taught theater at the university level. Also taught in the New York Film Academy for a while, and so I'm qualified to direct actors, but I'm definitely not qualified to adapt scripts or be a line producer. And a lot of those jobs, I'm sure I could learn, but a lot of those jobs go hand in hand. And right now I'm plenty busy acting, and it's what I grew up doing, and I love it. So I'll stick with that for a while. And then if the day comes where I feel like I'd like to branch out, I'd consider it, but it won't be for a while.
They'll be like, hey, we want you to write these jokes for Tuxedo Mask and this. And
yeah.
Oh, finally!
Yeah, no, I'm all right. No, there's a couple of really talented people who do that, so I'll pass and let them do what they're good at.
And speaking of talents, is there anything that you'd like to go ahead and promote?
Oh, no, sure. I mean, as everybody who knows, there's certain things we can't talk about. So, if you enjoy this interview and you like the projects that I work on, you can follow me at Twitter at Robbie Damon, or you can find me on Facebook. And I'm usually pretty good about giving updates about when things release. But things I can talk about, next weekend on Toonami, if this goes to air before that, it'll be the weekend of September 12th. I have a guest star on Sword Art Online, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I play Smokey Brown, that comes out next month. I have a new show for Nickelodeon called Get Blake, which was coming out later in the year. You can watch me in Unlimited Blade Works, that's Fate Stay Night. Yeah, that's on Netflix right now, and you can also get it on DVD. Everything you can get on DVD. And I'm going to be the lead in Stella Glow that comes out from Atlas at the end of the year.
I already pre-ordered that, actually.
Sweet, well, that's me.
Yeah, kind of a big person when it comes to like the RPGs and such. Most recent stuff I picked up was like Lord of Magna, Made in Heaven.
Which I'm also the lead in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Luke's in that.
Yeah.
Which you may have already known.
Yep, I know. I was like, I know all these people.
Oh, yeah, good. And then Tales of Zestiria, which I'm really excited about. That comes out next month in October, and I play the lead Saray in that as well. And I've got a lot of other exciting things in the pipeline, but I think that's everything I can talk about right now.
Yeah. Those non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah, and I'll be in some traditional video games too. You can kill me a multitude of ways in The Division, which is upcoming right now, and several other JRPGs that I can't mention yet, but yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for giving us this interview today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You guys are awesome, as always.
Thank you. I'm your host, Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth. We're here at Non-DesCon 2015. We've been talking to
Robbie Damon.
And to our studio audience, good night, and you are now caught up.
And there you go. That is the last of the interviews, and we are all caught up on those. All 8 of those ones that we hadn't put out here, 4 that are exclusive to Radio DMG, and 4 that you've probably heard on Area DMG on Radio DMG Versus. Again, I am your host, Phil Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and that whole line of other stuff that I said at the beginning of this. And guess what? We are at the end of this particular episode. Just under 3 hours of content. Whew! This was episode 60. I guess that's special for something. I mean, this is a pretty long episode, right? But yeah, we'll be back with more content in the next episode. So make sure that you bookmark Radio DMG. Make sure you whitelist Radio DMG, Area DMG, and DMG Ice on your ad block. And stick around. We have much more content to come in the next few weeks or so. So look forward to that. And guess what? Until the next episode comes out, you are now caught up. Morning, Maya.